Hello!
Hi!
Welcome back to From Under the Bed.
Your resident spooky movie podcast.
I'm Stevie.
And I'm Sarah.
Today, we are covering
Five Nights at... I literally did this. 5 Nights at Freddy's.
5 nights.
But also peace.
At Freddy's. FNAF.
At movie. Freddy's. If we had both hands, I'll do it on yours.
We'll do.
Dun, 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 this is so exciting.
Yes. Okay. We're 5 Nights at Freddy's fans.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I've been telling people recently, like when they asked, like, are you going to go, like before it even came out, they're like, are you going to go see it? And I was like, oh, I mean, I guess. And I was like, I like it. Like in the peripheral, like I watched so many playthroughs. We all, you know, it's the culture of literally just like over the past 10 years or however many years. But it's like, I never considered myself like in it though. Cause I was like, I don't know enough, but it's so easy to just fall in it. Which we did literally, or at least speaking for myself, I feel like I'm like, anyway, now I'm ingrained.
I feel like it sucks you in. Like if you're interested at all, you're just like, oh, yeah. And the next thing you know, you're like, what's the lore? And then you're just sucked into it.
I think it's because nowadays too, it's easier to access the lore. Not that like it wasn't before, but I feel like before, like when I'd watch playthroughs, I'm like, wait a minute. So what's the story here? And like you could look up stuff, but it was just not as
maybe now people make more content
everywhere. Yeah, I feel like you had to kind of be on forums or like digging through stuff to be like, wait, does everyone know what? Or it was like theorized, and then they made more games, and now there's more stuff.
And now there's a movie.
So good.
What a time.
What a time. What a time.
I remember when I first saw the trailer, and I don't know what movie I was watching, but we were in the theater, and I don't know if I was with you. But when the trailer first came up, I was like, what? I didn't even know it was going to happen. Somehow I hadn't heard about the movie happening, one. And then Josh Hutcherson right on our screen. And we're like, that's my man. That's my man.
That's my man. Man for you. No, literally, that's my Peter Malark. That's our boy.
Malarkey.
I'm tired of all this. Listen, like Josh is just... I remember the first thing I saw, was like not even the trailer. I remember like, I guess last year when they just showed a photo, like them standing in front of
maybe
it.
Maybe I had seen that, but I didn't know Josh Hutcherson was in it or something.
I think maybe when it was announced, I was like, wait, what? But when they first showed it, I was like, I don't...
because the thought of it is like, maybe I thought it was a fan thing. Or
yeah,
something.
Like I did think that at first. And then people were posting about it. And I was like, oh... And I was like, wait, so they're taking it seriously. And I know that they love it. And so I know that this must be more than just like, hey, this isn't the top. Like, it looked like something that like, it was a fake poster and that people were like getting really excited about it. And it's like, that's not happening, guys. But it did. And it was real. And it is real.
Yeah.
It's still here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's your first, like...
5 Nights at Freddy's.
5 Nights at Freddy's moment.
Okay, I remember being when I was studying abroad in London, and you know how we talked about this before, like when you're abroad, and especially in that time of your life, you're just like, I got to find something for comfort because I'm going through it. Like as great as it is, you're just like, I need things. And that was British YouTubers.
I was literally about to say it was our YouTuber.
It was literally the beginning of a certain YouTube era. Like it was it. And I remember, well, just in general being obsessed with Dan and Phil because I was like in London too. And I'd already loved them, but I was like, oh my gosh. And I think it was obviously on Dan and Phil games. Back and better than ever, but
they're still doing it.
Man, but back then, yeah, that was just like boom, boom, boom. And I remember Dan, I think just Dan did it. He was like, I'm gonna play this 5 Nights at Freddy's thing, and like, like it was just you can never not have a good time watching people play it. It was just so great, and I was just like engrossed, like watching, and I'm like, what is this? Like, why is this Chuck E. Cheese's, and how are they getting away with this? I was like, what are they? But then obviously. It's got its own thing. And I just, so I remember that. And then I remember just seeing, I think I watched a bunch of other YouTubers also play because at the time, like the second one had just come out or something. I don't know, 2015, something had come out at that point. And I remember I was like just jumping through playthrough after playthrough because somehow people just made it unique their own. But I will say that I guess he started playing it right away, but I didn't get on the Markiplier train until now because I didn't
yesterday us watching
I've been watching I've literally been having him on for the past like few weeks just being like let me catch up I guess for the past 9 years that he's literally had because
he's always been just circling around us.
And I knew that he was the 5 Nights at Freddy's guy, but I was always like, well, okay, one day maybe I'll check his thing out. And then I'm like, I need to like, it makes sense. But also, quick little Markiplier side story. that when I brought him up like however many months ago, I don't even know what we were talking about. Maybe it was this, or maybe it was just in general. We were talking about like one of the trends on TikTok. Like his one, that's where I first was, honestly. I'm surprised that before that I'd never really seen him, but I saw the trend where he does the thing from last year when he's like, this is my favorite thing right here.
Yeah, they use him for so many memes on TikTok. And I'm like, who's
this man? And then I was like, oh, that's him. Okay. And then when I would talk to Stevie about it, I was like, Markiplier. And you were like,
I'm like, yeah, Markiplier.
And I was just like,
and you're like, why are you saying his name like that?
I kept being like, why are you saying it like that? I know.
that?
I was like, what's his middle name? What are you doing? Like, why are you going like
Markiplier.
And then his middle name's And I was like, what are you? And you're like, it's Markiplier. And Plier, comma,
I
Mark.
Just remember
it's
we
literally
were at like a restaurant. And you're like, why are you saying it like that?
I was like agreeing with everything you were saying, and then I was like, so why are you doing that? And you were like, oh my God.
Why?
So in my heart, he's still Plier, comma Mark. Plier, anyone? Mark Bueller. And listen, so anyway, he's great, and I understand the girlies, okay? Because Stevie's over there like, bark like you want it. But
bark like you want it.
Amazing though. His videos, as you know, if you're a huge Five Nights at Freddy's person, like they're just incredible. Ugh, he's so great. But yeah, that's my like just watching people, various YouTubers. Dan and Phil started it for me though. They just like you just get sucked in. But now I'm like, let me like go through everything again. Let me go like we were watching Griffin and Justin McElroy do it. Yeah.
Well, I used to play it in 2014 when the first one came out. And
see, that matches up. See, look at that. Amazing.
And then I didn't play all those mini games and stuff. And then I would see it all the time. And obviously it's everywhere. And then I would see the most recent one with like the glam rock Freddy and all of those characters. And I'm like,
oh yeah, the boom in 2021 was like huge.
Yeah. And then I would watch those playthroughs all the time on Twitch. And I want to play that one.
I was supposed to say we're gonna because we want to really. I know it's that thing. It's one of those franchises that like, yeah. For example, like when I got into the McElroys and I saw them do that, it was like last year or something when I first saw it. I was just like, it just before this movie even came back, it's just like you feel like you recognize the Five Nights at Freddy's coming up every few years. You're just like, oh,
and then we were talking about how like there you are. We were talking about how like obviously a bunch of kids gravitated towards it, and then I remember seeing them like wearing the shirts and being obsessed, and I was always like. But that's like, because I would think about it and I would think about Slender Man because I would play that too. And then I'm like, these kids, are they playing it? And I'm like, they were like 8 or whatever. And it's not like it's like crazy, but it's also like a scary horror game. So
definitely
I'm like,
something I would have not
played at 8. Well, I don't know. Maybe.
I think I would have liked certain aesthetics of it.
Yeah. I mean,
but
I get it.
I get it, but I don't know what I would have done. I feel like I would have just been like, that's great. Maybe I will watch playthroughs as well if I had access to that as a kid. And being like, But, that's what's funny. It's like it's been through so many, like obviously in 2014, 2015, there was internet was like YouTube, everything. But it's amazing what the newer one, like Security Breach did on TikTok. It's so incredible.
It just looks so cool.
Yeah. First off, the aesthetics of that one were amazing. Like, the way the cosplay took over, the way the edits took over, so many audios.
The cosplay community. Going off.
Took over. I love it. So I know
them. And now we're like
because now the movie and it's like it's amazing because I think when the glam rock ones came out, that was the main focus for the cosplays. And now people are just doing all of them. I feel like people
mostly do those. Yeah, because
it was kind of easy, not easier, more like what do you call it? Like you could kind of humanize it. Humanize it, I guess, or what's the right word when you like make it anthropomorphic. Tries to speak. I'm like please.
Wait, anthropomorphic,
right?
Am I saying that right now? Now I don't know.
Basically easier like when you want to do like Roxy, like it's you can do like it's so cool. But
they move differently, so it's like but like, also their outfits are cool. Like they have more,
it's more about just like the style. Like it's like everything about it looks like something you'd be like, I could find that and I could wear that and make it.
Well, because they actually wear outfits.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I was like, what do you mean? The other ones are like Winnie the other ones are
like, I'm a bear with a hat.
Winnie the Pooh, just completely
which obviously you can still make cosplays based off of that, but it's wild. You can do so much more, I feel.
I know. And then like just the way the audio's like, what a time. 2021. I think it was 2021. Yeah.
Now all I'm thinking is
Vanessa.
No, not that one. I'm just thinking bark like you want it. Bark like you want it.
That's it. I'm done with Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm back with Five Nights at Freddy's.
And the Vanessa ones. Those were, I feel obviously if you haven't even seen Five Nights, you probably heard the Vanessa
and just like
audios.
And literally,
Freddy, you're supposed to be on lockdown.
You're supposed to be on lockdown. I just
Vanessa,
and then all of them, and then when it tied in with the Vanessa,
oh my
love crossover.
God.
And then the crossover one of trending? Material Girl with Gregory. I don't have shoelaces though. Nah, and then come on, Gregory, and then Material Girl. Like it's incredible.
Listen,
it's a renaissance right now too. I mean, it's never gone away, but now it's like I love the boom. Seeing the boom again with the movie happening.
There's just always a crossover between Five Nights at Freddy's and something. You know?
Something. We love it. And again, it's just going to keep happening if we have like sequels and just like probably they'll have a new game at some point. I don't know. I know. We gotta watch. We gotta play Security. That's not even to tap into the music side of things.
Yeah,
if you've never heard of any of the stuff we're talking about, you might have heard
people make music of
fan music,
fan music,
which it's probably one of the randomest franchises that has done it. Like not random, but it's like you really just don't see that for every single video game. Like
no, and it reminds me. I think we talked about this before when we talked about like Doctor Who and all that, and like the Harry Potter, like anybody who made, there were bands that specifically made music,
YouTubers,
for those sort of fandoms, and I'm like, Five Nights is one of the ones that they like,
and it's funny because I just
and ran with it.
Yeah, someone I don't know who. I mean, the Living Tombstones is definitely one like their end song, the end credits in the movie.
Yeah, it's in the movie.
Yeah, but it's just incredible because it's just like go off. Amazing, and they did
family, which is not the that one,
but there's so many. There's like everyone is like, yeah, we know them, or they've never known, so we're showing you that below the surface, and that I have like there's so. Anyway.
You're like, let me.
Stevie's gonna do cosplays of the animatronics, and I'll be Gregory. No, mostly because I don't think I can do a robot. I don't think I can. What is it? The jerk. It's like the jerk. Like
I don't know. I have to practice.
What is the word you used? You're like it's the like you use that word that makes it so realistic. Is not that you just moving like this, but you have to do that like kind of like jolting kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'm over here like. Anyway, incredible. That's what is in our heads. I feel like the moment before we ever like, so we're just like, I'm ready to watch this and like enjoy it because I was talking to several people about how we were like, oh, like it's not rated R, so I don't know what to expect. Like I personally was like, I saw people that they liked it, people who were big fans. And I was like, well, maybe they do a bunch of like, not lore stuff, but maybe they do a bunch of like just things for the fans, right? That it's like, that's so cool. They care. But then also I was like, they seem to like it despite like they're not saying, oh, that was too campy or like campy where it shouldn't be campy.
That's what I was saying because when I saw it, I was just like, that's literally what I said. I was like, it's not. I was expecting it to be campy and I didn't think it was campy.
Yeah, Stevie was like pointing out the like whole like there's scene because I think I said something about is there a scene because Stevie saw it before me and then we watched it again. She watched it with me again and I think I asked you about something about like a scene where I'm like, I've heard that there's like I didn't use these words, but people were using it like, oh, there's a cringe scene or there's like a thing and you were like,
when
are they trying to say cringe for like campy and then you were like it isn't campy though like you know what I mean, like it's like you're like that doesn't even the word cringe in the terms of what everyone else means but doesn't even exist,
because I felt
confirmed
like
it doesn't ever have a moment where I'm kind of like you know what I mean, which could be easy and it could still be a good movie with it being like, well, there is
no, I feel like that. I mean, like I would have.
You were like,
I would have been expecting that, but I feel like I was saying to you, I'm like, one, Blumhouse did it, and then two, I think they leaned into it instead of they like really leaned into it, and they're like, we're gonna make it creepy, and we're not just gonna pull back or like I don't know. Some people definitely wanted it to be scarier and more horror, but I feel like they leaned in as much as they. Didn't you say that where
you're talking about the tone? Feels that way.
They played it seriously,
yes.
But instead of playing it in a campy way of like, well, obviously this is this, and it's like knowing they have this fandom and knowing that they could go even with like the music or be kind of cheesy, but it also with the backstories that they put into it that aren't connected to the game
because it's a sad story of a game and it's like serious. It's sad. It's kind of like we were talking about earlier when you were saying like when something is made. Taken seriously but still keeps the humor. I feel like it's still it didn't make it so that it was like this is not fun. Like we were having fun with it. We
had a good time. Obviously we like horror in general, but
the movie itself doesn't seem like it's taking itself too seriously where you're just kind of like
no, but I'm just like they literally leaned into this is a serious horror movie.
This is a messed up premise, so we're gonna go with it.
Premise, and then we're based off of this game that has like some silly
and
things in it.
And we know that y'all love it. Like they knew, like they weren't just like the reason it's being made is not because it's like money is the answer at all times, clearly. But the reason it's being made is because not because it was like this insane like every person like like I text my mom about it. Your mother doesn't know about it necessarily, but it's one of those things that people who know about it are such big fans that they know that it's like loved.
Yeah, I feel like it's like it feels like a love letter to it. Like it feels like it was made by the right people of like we know what this means to people. We know what I feel. Okay, we know what this means to people, and we know like the actual lore and stuff like that. Yeah. But also I need to say that I feel scared because I'm like, these are my opinions, and I know that people have a lot of feelings about Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, I know.
And I feel like if I'm like, this is this, I can see people being like, no, I disagree.
Well, I agree with you,
but like that's how it feels.
I agree with you, so that's all that matters.
And then also my cousins were here, Dylan, Kim, hello. I wanted to see it on opening night, and they refused to see it with me. They were like, I'm not going to watch it. And I was like,
they also refused to watch the Taylor Swift movie, but like we'll get into it another time.
Sarah the most. But yeah, they didn't want to watch it with me. And so I don't know where I was going with that, but basically
that people
it was good. Yeah, people just,
but
I'm sure there were people that wouldn't want to watch it or were just kind of like, and they're not really like fans of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Well, what you were talking about like the lore side of it too. It's like, I saw the average fan of at least people that I like follow or like friends and stuff who are really into it. It seemed like a lot of them enjoyed it. They would go back again. They liked it.
Cosplay.
Yeah. Someone else. I saw some people, if they were going to give criticism, they weren't. It wasn't even criticism. It was more just like, oh, I wish that they had done this with the lore instead. But also, I recognize that this is not like there's a reason. Like it's a movie. It's like there's so much. And then someone else pointed out, they were like, yeah, I felt that way too. But like some stuff in the lore, like it's not a theory. It is a theory, but there's some stuff that it's like.
But I also think that they do obviously at the end leave open.
Yes.
They leave it open for a sequel. So I'm like, they can definitely bring in more things. And then they put little Easter egg sort of things in there that are alluding to characters.
Yeah, they could really swap some things
stuff
up.
Like
they could really do some
obviously,
stuff.
like you said, they changed some things and like relationships with certain characters are different. But I think it was good.
It would be interesting.
Those were good choices
to have done. They might do something clearly like this because I've already shown that some of the characters are the same, obviously. Yeah. But I wonder if they'll do like a prequel at some point. Especially,
I think they should do a prequel.
I think so too. And
maybe
then
jump
then up to the next one about like a security breach one with Gregory. That would be really cool. And honestly, because it's a movie franchise now, they might tie Gregory to something. Like they might make up their own lore. I don't know. But actually, I don't know if there's more about Gregory that people have talked about. Like concerning him being connected. But I feel like they'll do like a prequel would be sick because I think that's what some people might have been hoping for in the terms of the Afton family and then like with Henry and stuff. Like I feel like they were like that would be so cool to finally see played out.
There are obviously characters they didn't tie in, and it's like it would have been cool to see that stuff. So that's why, like you said, like a prequel and then the sequel would be perfect. Really which I guess someone was saying that it might be a trilogy. So I'm like,
yeah. So shall we go into who's in the movie besides Golden Boy? Josh Hutcherson.
We have
sorry.
We have Elizabeth Lyle, who's Vanessa.
And
she's in You. Which I was watching the whole time. I'm like, I know you. 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 And then I'm like, oh, duh. I forgot she's in You.
She's also got that face that's so lovely. She's like,
Reminder, this is a spoiler podcast. So if you don't want to know.
True.
Just don't.
We're about to get
we're gonna talk about
in it. We're about to get up in it. Obviously.
We have Abby, who plays Josh Hutcherson's little sister. She's so cute, and she looked familiar, but she wasn't in. She was like in one. She looked like she was a
real life sibling of somebody else. That's a child actor or like something. And I'm like, wait a minute. I know this.
That's Piper Rubio, and then we have Matthew Lillard. We love him.
Icon. We have seen him in real life. He was in front of us. At a Scream panel.
We're gonna post. Okay, yeah, we went to MegaCon last year, and he's so nice.
Literally, they were supposed to stay on stage like as a it was a huge panel that like I forgot about that. We like got in line, but then they were lining up people so weird. Listen, you know, we're like, do you want to hear the story? They're like
commentary, but just
but anyway, we got in there and we were so excited. Like we weren't that close, but you can still see stuff on the screens.
But
and stuff.
They were walking through the aisles a lot.
And Matthew specifically started it. Like he was like, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna come to you and I'm going to like get the microphone to you, which is like not how you do it, you know?
Yeah. yeah, you can tell he loves the fans. And like,
yeah, in a way. And then you, what's her name? Wait. I almost said Naomi Campbell. But yeah, but she was like, she's so sweet.
You could tell Nev or Neve? Because I always say it wrong. It's Nev, right? I always want to say Neve, but I'm thinking of like too, and I think it's Neve.
Nev. Yeah, I
think it's Nev. Okay.
But she was so cute because like she was staying up there. I mean, they most stay up there.
It was Jamie Kennedy, Skeet.
Stop. But they were so cute up there, and like Jughead's dad. But love our I'm like, listen, it goes beyond Riverdale, okay? But she was so cute how she was like, these guys keep me motivated to say, hey, come, they love you, like they love us, like they love this, and I was like, we do. Anyway, he's great. I
know. I wonder if he'll be there again this year. We'll meet him next time.
Yeah,
but
honestly.
Yeah, I was telling Sarah.
We're meeting 15 people. Sorry.
This happens every time at MegaCon, at every con. But I was telling you yesterday that I'm like, Matthew Lillard is somebody that I've loved since I was a child. Like, I've loved him since the first thing he was in that I saw. And then
you're like, since the moment I saw you,
I've
loved you.
But it's like, he's always been there.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's always been there for us.
He's just like, it's amazing because it's almost like, it's funny how it's like, as a kid, I would see like Shaggy, like Scooby first, and then you learn that he was actually an iconic, like in Scream, and you're like, okay, well, I'm old enough to see that now.
I think I saw Scream before, but I would watch horror movies as a kid.
You know, listen to our Scream episode, and you'll know
I think about it a lot.
We just redo it. Anyway, no, yeah, I literally when I still think of the opening scene. Anyway, it's fine. Anyway, but iconic, and I love that it's like people who know, because it's kind of funny because there's like obviously a new generation of people that you'd think that they would have seen Scream or would know about it, but like I get it. But we're like, I get it. But they're like, wait, what? They're like, that's him, or like he was in Scream or something. But then there's clearly so many people, both younger and older, that know that, and they're just like, Scream King.
They're like, oh my
here
God.
He is,
and Shaggy.
Yeah, literally,
Scream King,
and he's here, and I just think that's so appropriate that he's in this,
and also everything else he's been in. Which we're like,
yes.
I always think a lot because I tell you how I used to watch Without a Paddle a lot when I was like in middle school and high school and stuff. And I'm like, I remember seeing him in that too. And I'm like, Matthew Lillard. And
like, what a great name too.
I know, great name.
And I always think about him whenever that little girl came up to meet him at his table at something, and it was like, I think he had a bunch of Scream stuff up there, so she was like kind of scared, but he was like, wait, let me, and he like sat down on the floor with her and was like, I'm Shaggy, and he like talked, and she was like,
oh my,
and it was
please.
So well, we just find the video. Listen, it was.
I was gonna say something else
about Matthew
Lillard.
Sorry, Luna. Yeah, no, when I saw him in the trailer, like I initially thought that it was just going to be that quick. Like he's at a desk. If you've seen, speaking of TikToks, like it's already taken over with all his like quotes. Iconic.
I'm going to level with you. Your options,
Mike, I'm going to level with you.
Are not great.
That, and then he did the other one too. What is it? It's like, how are the hours? Not great. How's the pay? Even worse. Or
even worse.
Even worse. He's like, the hours? Even worse. Yeah.
Horrible.
Horrible. Even worse. But but the pay? Even worse. Like it's just, he's so funny.
But the
like,
pay though.
Yeah, he's like setting it up. He's so good. But I thought that it was like, oh man, they really got him in there, got him to really milk it. Like I love it. Like he's great. But I'm like, again, foreshadowing, but he's got lots of like stuff to work with.
He's more than just
that little thing, which is very exciting because again, I thought they were just having him be the iconic person that's on the phone being like, hey, because, I think of that all the time when I think of the game. The guy that's just rattling in the background while you're like, I'm scared out of my mind. He's like, hey, make sure. And it's like, tell me what's going on here. Anyway. But,
hey, it's like, get me out of here.
Yeah,
please.
In this one, so like we're talking about security breach a lot, but then we're mentioning that like the animatronics in this one are like the original iconic ones that are like basically like don't really have true outfits on, but like they're so recognizable.
Chica, Freddy, Bonnie, and Foxy.
Which we're getting mixed up because when they replaced Foxy, I mean they replaced multiple, but like Foxy with Roxy, and people were like, "Where's my Foxy?" Or and then literally they see Roxy, Glam Rock Roxy, and they're like, "It's okay."
They're like, "Okay, she's cool." Like, but I was like, "Why not have them?"
I know. And then people liked Monty too, I think, but they were like, but I think there's hints of everything.
The Samantha Senpai cosplayed as Monty.
Hey. She's like, hey.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, Sam. But yeah, man, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I'm visualizing it, Sam, right now. Incredible. But incredible. But
amazing.
Yeah, but you can see callbacks to everything in that game anyway.
Yeah.
But all that to say that, and this one, first off, the animatronics are incredible.
They're really cool.
I thought they were, before I watched it, when I saw a trailer, I was like, oh, they did a CGI thing. And then someone made a video being like, you might think that's CGI, but that's practical effects.
You know,
With the
okay,
Jim Henson,
we talk a lot.
Henson
We
puppetry.
talk a lot about practical effects and how much we love them, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just always blathering on about it, but I just love practical effects. And also, okay, talking about the animatronics, there's something that I understand because seeing them even in the movie, I'm so drawn to them. Like I want to go up to them and touch them, and they're so large. And like when characters get their faces right near Freddy, and I'm like, his face is, you can't tell how big it is until somebody is standing right there, and I'm like, just wanna, I feel like I'm always drawn to like things that make me feel tiny.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna say, is it like a call to like literally us, like when we're at the Disney parks, like literally meeting characters?
Yeah.
Like, is that like, is it literally
like
something human in us to be like, wait, can it say hi?
I'm like this is like my inner child wanting to be with a giant teddy bear.
Literally us in a playroom sitting with a teddy bear, like feeling like
we're like we also didn't even talk about Chuck E. Cheese, which Chuck E. Cheese, I had my birthday party there maybe 5 times in a row.
It's the place.
It was, and obviously that's what I first thought of when I first started to play this.
The first time I ever even saw it, I thought it was like, I was telling you, I was like, how are they getting away with this? Like they can't keep getting away. It's gonna hurt somebody. My friend's like, what? No, but hey Connor, hey Taylor. They're like, listen. But yeah, I remember being like, is this a spoof? Like, I mean, obviously it kind of is, but like taken way beyond. But like,
yeah, but obviously
clearly
it's like
they know
place.
what you grew up with.
This is a pizza place with animatronics.
Yeah, pizza.
It's obviously they're like
a pizza place specifically, and they focus so much on that. Chica, let's eat.
Yeah,
literally.
Which there's also that bird in Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, is that not her?
Is
and
that
Chica,
not just her?
Now Glam Rock Chica, I feel like looks more and more like that
her.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Because this one looks more like a chick, like that's literally like been hatched.
Yeah, a chick.
Yeah, and then the other one's more like Chica.
She's like,
but I love it. But we're so excited because if you know, like some of the, not every iteration of Freddy, but at least Glam Rock Freddy, and then I think Springtrap, one of them. One of our fave voice actors in anime and then elsewhere is Kellen Goff.
Kellen.
He's not watching this. We're like, hey, Kellen.
Hi. Hey, Kellen, if you're watching and we know that you are.
Listen, and we know that you're a big fan.
You're obviously listening.
We love him. He's, literally, I mean, first introduced to him as like Overhaul in My Hero Academia, and then he's Porco in Attack on Titan. And then Sasuke and
Sasuke and Mino. And also, he's...
Freddy. Yeah, I was like, not the every iteration, but I didn't even. But yeah, but it's the
not in the original because
Glam Rock though. Yeah, it's Glam Rock one.
Speak in the original.
And what was the other one I said a second ago? I think it's like a spring. He does Sun and Moon, which is in this
Sun and Moon.
Yeah, so he does like a variation. I don't want to misquote it, but I know that there's a Springtrap version of something that he does. So clearly, yeah, he's just like so talented. We love him. But yeah, in this one though, wait, tell them about the
so in
Foxy.
This one, so none of the animatronics speak in this one except this creeped me out. I think this, for some reason, obviously there's so many things in this movie that
I think I expected them to speak at first, like when I thought they were going to do it, and then I'm thinking too much.
Eventually they might speak.
Right, but then I think we're too much into the security breach ones where they really talk, and I feel like it wasn't until slowly the games started progressing that they would say stuff like, but anyway.
Because doesn't he speak in like the other one?
He does. He starts to.
It's just not. Yeah,
it's just that it takes a minute to kind of, because there's another one where he'll also do. I don't know. There's other, but I feel like Security Breach was the one that they really were like.
Yeah, they're obviously. He's like, let me shine,
superstar. Yeah, and then what was it? There's the one that was before that I was telling you. I recognized the audio from TikTok with a performance was demanded.
Oh yeah,
and now I have delivered.
Yeah.
Encore. And then the other. There's never enough room on the stage for both of us. Anyway. Incredible.
No, but
stop. Amazing.
Yeah, anyway, none of them speak except for one who does this okay, what I was going to say was that there's a lot of things in this movie that are like eerie. There's children who go that are kidnapped, and you know, it's
the
a lot.
Whole situation.
The whole premise of it, which we're going to obviously get into. But what creeps me out a lot is this Foxy in this movie does this little, like, anytime he's gonna attack somebody, he's like standing in the same freaking hallway and he's just like dum 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 dum, and I'm like, it freaked me out every time. And then come to find out it's Kellen Goff.
So exciting, and obviously so well done, because like you said, you're like, that's the most like daunting,
I'm like,
scary.
Kelly, creeping me out,
Creepy,
man.
and also they just everything paired together was so perfect for those like you said, like Foxy is most definitely the most terrifying.
Another thing,
such a good design.
I keep thinking about him like, so they're just gonna have a fox with a full hook
with an eye patch
where a child is,
literally,
like children are. And what if he fell
he's always
over?
Separate too.
Yeah, he's separate. He's like on the side.
And in the games too, I was looking at stuff and I'm like, he's always like, which I feel like is I feel like at Chuck E. Cheese, it's like that kind of thing. But there's this kind of idea, maybe I've seen it in other movies too, where they have animatronics or they do something where it's like, here's this, and then it's like all of a sudden, now it's like nothing, like Country Bears. It's like, here's one in the rafters. Yeah. Like it's always like.
But also I was thinking at first, I was like, is it because he's like the vocalist or something? But he's not, because they all quote unquote sing, like, because they'll show them sing, but they're singing like the romantic song, like.
What? Maybe he's the villain. What's the lore within the lore? What did Michael Afton and Henry envision when they were like, who are these characters and how do they know each other?
I guess there might be a reason why we just didn't know why he was set aside. Right. But I'm like, I was trying to figure it out. Obviously, we're like, what? Why is he there?
Wait a second.
Anyway, he's creepy, but I love him.
No, he's, and again, great character design. Also, LOL that it's happening on screen now.
Yeah, I was thinking about
we're
that.
like, anyway,
we have the movie on in the background.
We're like,
literally
and here
just walked
he comes. Also, the fact that he's got his little skinny legs, he's so cute. Like everything about him is like mechanical, but also a pirate. I'm like, what?
You know, because here's the thing. Obviously, these characters in this movie, the whole thing, right? It's that's somebody opened this pizzeria. I can't even talk quick.
Pizzeria.
Somebody opened this pizzeria in the 80s and they have their animatronics, blah, 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 just like we said. And then they shut it down because what happened was is that 5 kids went missing and they never found them. And they're like, okay, where are they? Right. So they shut it down. But the owner wants to keep it open. And that's why we have Josh Hutcherson come in as a security guard. And
for only the nights.
For only nights.
Yes.
Right. 5 nights. And
stop. We're like, anyway.
But that's why, like, so Freddy, this is the thing, okay? Because like the Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica are all like pretty pristine, right? Except for Golden Freddy, which is there's some animatronics throughout the place that look all like mangled and messed up. But the ones on stage, them 3 look perfect pretty much. And then you have Foxy on the side who's like
been torn to shreds.
Yeah. And I'm like, is it because
he's a pirate?
I don't,
maybe.
And but I'm assuming he didn't look like that obviously when the place was open.
Right?
Like he didn't look like that.
Again, maybe this man is supposed to be like,
I feel
some
like
type of pirate situation. I know.
I mean, he is. Yeah, he's
but
a pirate.
Also, I guess, right? Because I mean, he's got that hook on. Because it's in the promo imagery too, right? Like within the place. But he looks like he's been through
his fur and stuff.
Yeah, and then we have another one. Yeah, like did you mention the golden? What is it? The Freddy.
Golden Freddy is like the one in the movies that like is the antagonist. So he's the one, and he's like missing in the movie. He's missing an ear, and he's all mangled. His eye is all messed up.
There's a lot.
But we don't really see him much. We see him like twice. But the one that we're seeing throughout is not that Freddy. And there's 5 kids.
You pointed that out to me and I was like, oh, because in my head I thought that there's like a kid that was supposed to be main Freddy, but then they show that he's Golden Freddy. And then I was like, well, but then and you're like, well, there's 5 kids and there's only 4 animatronics. Yeah,
when I was watching it, I'm like,
I can't do it.
Sarah Math.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm that meme. The one that Fyodor had to. Okay. Anyway. So they're basically, we have a kid for each animatronic, which it's implied. Well, it's not implied. It's actually, but it's implied. Yeah,
what happens obviously is that the owner abducted these kids back in the 80s.
When they were there.
Yeah, when they were visiting. And
they went missing. And they looked everywhere for them in the place. They never found them.
And basically what happened was that he put them, quote unquote, where no one would look. Because, quote unquote, why would they?
And I'm like, I would literally tear apart.
Also, where are the dogs? Like sniffing around.
They're like,
wouldn't they know?
Like,
and then apparently... I don't know. So, and I'm like, this is the case of the regular lore too. It's not just the movie. They went with the
We're
lore.
like, now hold on a minute.
Every single time I'm like, what do you mean? Why would they? Why would they? They were like,
they kept making it a very obvious thing of just like, well, they would never look there.
No, they keep saying
they would never look there.
Scoured the place inch by inch, except for 1 inch.
Yeah.
4 inches, 5 inches, because all of those things had kids in them.
And they literally are like, they would never know to look there. I'm like, I mean, if I were the parents, as they said, the parents were all like, where are you looking? You need to look. Like, why would you not be looking inside a thing that easily something could be fit inside, even if you're not meant to be worn? I'd be like, wait a minute, I don't know.
Yeah, no, the point of them, so there's a bunch of, they're the ones that are on stage, and then there are the ones that people would go into to walk around. So why wouldn't they check?
Just to be
unless the ones on stage specifically aren't supposed
okay, but most importantly, like you said, where were the dogs?
Why not look?
Most importantly, the dogs would have sniffed that out.
The sniffer dogs.
So what's going on? The sniffer dogs.
I don't know if that's what they're called.
Listen, no.
So yeah, I don't understand why they never found them.
I mean, I think honestly, if they had not said that line, like it would have been
they had
easier.
To say they checked everywhere.
Except
they didn't.
I feel like it would make more sense to be like, if you, it'd still be questionable, but we wouldn't have been drawn to asking it as much. Yeah, we'd be like, well, maybe he hid those things. I don't know, did something. But now we're like, they searched everywhere. No, they didn't. That's devastating. And also, like, it's the thing where that's another thing. It's amazing that that they were able to make this movie not R, because the concept, like, we're always talking about this. Seeing children in pain is never, like, no one wants to see, like, it's even a thing that horror movies don't really do, right? But the whole premise of this,
kids as a creep factor.
Yeah, it's like you'll always see a kid that's a ghost. You'll always see a kid that's something, but you just never see them in pain usually. Like, you never see them getting like,
which, like, obviously they didn't show that.
Right. And so it's like, and obviously some movies do show that, and you're just like, that is so upsetting. But like, for the most part, horror movies steer, like, that's why teenagers are always the thing, because it's like they're dumb enough to get into these things or whatever, but then they're also more like adults, so they'll be getting, it
is always teens.
Yeah, so it's always easier to target that. But it's just like with this, like, you never see, but it still has that, like, you're like, wow, the more I think about it, this is really messed up, obviously. But like, they don't have to show a single kid actually getting, like, because like, describe what happens when they put them into the, like, because it's like he hid them in there, but it's because he, like, killed them while putting them in there.
So he killed them, he put their bodies in there, and then it's called...
But it's like, doesn't he, like, kill them by doing the spring trap thing?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
They didn't specify how.
Maybe not then. Okay.
But there's a thing called... It's not called... I keep wanting to call it something. I keep wanting to call it essence.
Oh, but they call it something else.
They call it something else. But basically, he puts them in there, and their souls are basically now
both their body and soul. Like, their body might have decayed already and stuff, but
connected to the animatronics. Yeah. So they
are the animatronic.
They are the animatronics, and he can control them. And they obviously have their own, like, they have their autonomy own free will, but they have autonomy.
Like,
but at the end of the day, he's just sort of stripped them of their memories.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, that it's like they've been brainwashed into basically being like, You know
what I was gonna say too about, like, the PG-13 thing, because it's like, yeah, it is PG-13, but there are a lot of horror and creepy movies that are PG-13, and I'm just like, and they're still, like, thrillers or horrific, not to the point where it's like, we needed it to be R. So I feel like it doesn't. I guess for me, I'm just like, yeah, it's PG-13, but it's like,
And I guess people were, like you said, people were like, or we were talking about it where it's like people were wanting more, like, gore, I guess.
There was
still some freaky stuff. And also, you just didn't need to see, like, blood splattered everywhere.
They did it creatively.
They were able to get away with
shadows.
Yeah.
And,
like, you could still see gory stuff. Because I think the thing that's defined with R is that you can't show the blood the way you'd want to.
Because this one character gets his face mauled. And did you notice when they showed him later and his face was all mauled? And I was like,
I'm trying to think now, because maybe it depends on the blood. Maybe it shows maybe it's the thing. There's different variations, because you know how in I remember always thinking that about Marvel movies, that they would say, because you know how those are really rated, I think, PG-13, but I'm not sure.
There's, like, no blood.
Yeah, and it's like anytime they're having their fights, that's why they always have to be like, think about how hard these would go. And obviously there's superhero things now that do that. Yeah, but like they were like, anytime Captain America gets hit or anybody gets kicked, like they're never gonna have the kind of, like, they look beat up, but it's never like how they should look. So I'm like, I guess that's true.
Is it that thing of, like, because for rated R, it's like, oh, you in PG-13 you can swear like 3 times. Yeah. If you do 4, then it has to be R. So it's like, maybe you can show a certain amount of blood,
and you can only,
but not like.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Like, I think and then some of them just steer clear in general, being like, because I think that also goes into
like after the fact, like blood splatter or like blood after, but not like during,
as opposed to like fresh blood pouring out of somebody or something. Because I feel like there's a big difference.
Which I'm gonna look that up.
Interesting.
Because now I want to look up the rules.
It's like us looking up like what a roller coaster count says. It's us like, was I with you doing that? I was looking up with, who was I with?
Me being like, Tron is not I'm like, they're like, it's a thrill
No,
ride.
if Ashley's listening to this, when we were getting when we were getting on Tron, I think it was the two of us that were looking up, because I'm like, it wasn't with anyone else I went on with Tron. We were looking up, like, because you know how it says at those rides, it'll be like it'll be like a roller coaster like ride. It'll be like a roller coaster like ride, and it's like, well, is it not a roller coaster then? And it was a whole thing about like the definition
like
of
what it
means, or like why they say that, because you can't see it. It's because you can't see it like you would a roller coaster, so they're letting you know it's going to be like that, but like you can't look at it, so we need to just tell you that because you can't, whatever.
So you're not going to be surprised. For like, very interesting. Technically it might not be, but it feels like that.
But it's so like you need to, and you can't look at it and go, oh, that's too much. You know, so I'm like,
They're like, we're not trying to bamboozle.
You're right. How too was bamboozled. Let us try. But yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, I wonder then. But again, they did really well with it's just, they set the scene, they set the vibe.
They did. I think they did a great job. Set design, we didn't even talk about.
We just want to be at all these places.
Sarah's literally like wanting to go, to the Glam Rock.
Yeah, I'm like, can we just be there?
I mean, to the security breach.
Yeah, the security breach. Yeah, Glam Rock. I mean, honestly,
basically,
we were like, can we just like go there? Listen, okay, and we're gonna play the game, so it's gonna be great.
Well, the differences between the movie and the game.
Yes.
One thing, Josh Hutcherson's character, so his character is named after a character that's in the lore, but he's not connected to that character in the way that he is. Like, I'm surprised
they named him Mike Schmidt, and you'd think that they would have just said this guy's named Mike. Like, you thought that if they were going to try and play around, even not confirming anything, they would just be like, this is Mike. And you're like, okay, well,
which maybe we don't know.
We don't know, because names are just names. Last names are just last names. We've been bamboozled before. Okay. But yeah, so he's Mike Schmidt. But which is weird, because I feel like I kept not thinking that was his name. Right.
But in the lore, Mike is William Afton's son.
So Michael Afton,
and he's part of it, right? And at one point he is the
guy
one that we're playing, the security guard. But in this version, he has his little sister, who I feel like also kind of supposed to represent Henry's daughter in a way.
Maybe, but then also
maybe
William also had a daughter.
Yeah, but so the way that Henry's daughter, or not, no, I feel like so. Okay, so Mike had another brother, and that brother, it's revealed, right?
Oh, you're talking about in the movie.
Yes. Yeah, in the movie. You're right. In the movie, he had another little brother, and they were camping with their parents, and he keeps having this recurring dream because he's trying to remember. But basically, his brother was kidnapped, and then they never found him, and he disappeared, right? And in the game, William goes like nuts, basically, and kills Henry's daughter just for no reason. And then after killing that daughter, he then kills all those 5 kids, right?
Yes.
So I always feel like I was feeling like it's almost supposed to be like a call to that of like, I'm gonna take this random kid and kill them, but not put them in any of the animatronics. Just kill Henry's, right? Except for she does become something,
it's not because
but
he did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it's like, he had them in the game. William Afton has Michael, and then his son. I don't remember what the other son's name is. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the older son.
No, the older son.
The older son is Michael, right? And then the middle one,
who
they say like is a sad.
Yeah,
boy.
He doesn't like the animatronics, and then we have the youngest daughter, Elizabeth.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like
that he puts into a thing.
I think of,
or she gets too close to it and dies.
Yeah,
something.
That's another thing that you're right, because it's like that middle son dies too, like in the lore. So it's like I feel like
there's like some type of call.
It feels like a mix of those two, because he doesn't kill his own son. So it's like, I don't know. It's like the way they're sort of putting it together. And I'm wondering again if they're going to...
That son just comes back in the sequel?
Yeah. And if they're going to...
Or I don't know. Or they reveal he died a different way. Like he was there at the animatronics, and it's like, I didn't try to kill your brother. He just got like how it happens in the game, which is like which they do show someone die the same way in this, where it's like he gets too close to the mouth of Freddy.
Yeah.
But
they get chomped in half, which is how the kid dies, William's son in the game, which I feel like, okay, hopefully this isn't confusing, because I'm like, and
the real ones, no, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. But like the premise of this, like you said, it's like it's setting up that Mike is very like, he's haunted, he's continuously living out this memory, which I was telling Stevie before that, like, if you've seen Minority Report, which you're gonna watch it, it's so good, but it's like focuses on the same thing of like a kid who's kidnapped, and how like, and I mean the story unfortunately is everywhere, clearly, because this happens. But like
So sad.
the whole idea of just reliving that memory, trying to remember what that person looked like, remember what you saw that day. And it's just like, they honestly, I think that's what got me knowing that this movie was going to be good as I'm watching it, because I was like, oh, they really nailed the emotional aspect. And I think that was very important, because it made you really care about it.
They added something in that wasn't just like,
Yeah,
oh, you know,
here's
it was like,
animatronics,
here's something that's really
yeah,
sad and serious. And then they played it well.
And it makes it so...
It's a side plot almost.
It's a really good...
Not side, obviously it's going alongside it, but it's something that's new.
But it's a very good character, like motivation development, because his whole thing. So he's struggling because he's now the only guardian for his sister Abby.
Yeah. And
we learn later that like his mom had died. Basically, after his little brother had gotten kidnapped, at some point they had Abby, and then the mom had died, and then the dad left supposedly. Although it's like I first interpreted it as that the dad had like either committed suicide, because the mom dying, and like because he says dad couldn't handle it, so we don't know, but we don't know. Like it could be that he's gone, and so he might
left. Which I'm just so like, really?
We were like, after everything, really?
Yeah.
You're gonna anyway. So it's just
we forgot to mention that the whole time, like you said, which you might have been saying, is that his aunt. Oh, that's what's
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but that's it. That is just that he's trying to take care of his own, like his little sister, and then his aunt is their aunt. We don't know how, if it's like the sibling of one of the parents, or maybe it's a sister-in-law. We're just wondering.
She is June from Benny and June, which we talked about last time.
She's actually, I mean, she's
funny, and she's another.
It's funny because she's great, and then it's just like, hey.
But then her character, obviously,
it's so weird because she, like he's saying, she just wants to be like, and be like, oh, he's unfit. What was it we were joking about? We're like, he's great, and we're like, well, on paper, he
like,
doesn't
have a job.
And then the opening sequence,
at the beginning, he's triggered because he sees a kid in the mall. He's a security guard in the mall. He sees a kid being pulled away by a man, and he immediately, obviously, is triggered by the thought of how his brother was taken, runs after the guy and beats him to like a pulp. Literally, we were like, Jason, Sean! From Heavy Rain. But
it's so funny.
Then that's how he loses that job. And so on paper, it looks like he's like beating up.
Such a good setup though, because it shows that intro for him, and then it shows him looking at that sign for camping in Nebraska. And it literally that's where that happened with his brother. And so you're just like putting the pieces together, like this man is going through it, and like and then he's struggling because he's like, okay, I need to hold down a job, and then also like his aunt's on his case being like, I'm gonna get her, I'm gonna get you.
And she really doesn't care. And then when he does go to the office, what's it called,
like a temp agency,
Matthew Lillard, he's there, and that's when he's like, counselor. Listen, we have this job and it's the only one, and it's a high turnover rate, it's horrible. And he's like, well, I can't work nights. And he's like, okay, that sucks. But he does take a pause when he sees his name on the paper. This is funny because people, we know within the movie too, but also people are still thinking like, because he's immediately like, so Mike, and he's like reading Schmidt, and he's just like, oh, and it's like, hello, like he just has a glitch. The reason I'm thinking
it was within the movie reason, but I think people thought it was going to be because they're connected. This is in a different way. Like, oh my gosh, it's like this whole thing, and it's just, I don't know, but it makes sense. But I was just tying it real quick that it's like the way that it's like set up, that he's desperate, obviously. Like he's like, I don't want to do the jobs which is going to be the Five Nights at Freddy's job, or the Freddy's job, you know, specifically only 5 nights. You're only going to be there. But it's like, he's so desperate, and it makes sense why he's wanting, and then as it builds, it makes sense why he keeps going back. Like, it's just so good how they did it, I think.
No, they did a great job, like you were saying when we were watching it, because you're like, oh, because when things start to happen, you're like, why would he go back?
Why would you ever go back?
Because...
And it's not even anymore now, like, we'll get into it, but it's like not even why he... Not just because he needs money. Now he's like, no, I have my personal motive, like goals, whatever. Goals.
Because Matthew, I forgot his name.
Oh,
his like temp agency. Yeah. He has a name, but we'll call him.
What did it say? Yeah, I don't remember anymore.
Wait.
Because it was like, it said.
Let me just find it, because it says slash, but it's not.
Because on his little thing, it says like.
Wait.
Career counselor.
Steve Raglan.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's like he's over there being like, you could do like, he's like, this isn't looking good. What is the line? I gotta be honest with you, Mike.
Your options are not great.
And he's like, actually, here's something. And he's like introducing Freddy's, and he's like, it was open in the 80s. The owner's sentimental,
loved it, so he wants to keep it open.
Yeah,
all you have to do every time, you just have to do one thing: keep people out, and keep the place tidy. And then Josh is like, that's two things. Mike is like, that's two things.
That's two things.
But yeah. So then he does decide to take the job, and he has his babysitter who basically stays all night, and she's like, he doesn't pay her because
we keep wondering too, like, we're like, is this isn't the summer? Is she old? She's old enough to be in school. So we're like, what's happening? Because we're like,
I thought she was an adult.
No, I'm sorry. I meant the little girl.
I'm
no,
like,
LOL.
wait,
No. Sorry. No. I meant Abby. Like in general, we're just kind of like.
Well, she is in school every now and then. Like,
I guess right? But then it's like funny because we're like, how many? We're like, it's 5 nights, but then like all these nights are basically.
They didn't say it was like Christmas. Also, another thing about Abby is that she's always drawing, just like reminding me of the Kid in the Ring. Oh my gosh, drawing, in every scary movie. So she's always drawing, and she also has a bunch of imaginary friends.
And it's like there's something about like he's trying to connect with her more because like they're not like close, but it's not like she's like being trouble for him.
Obviously,
she clearly
loves him, and like he's
I love
her
that
world.
too, because we think that we're like, what? It's obvious, and like the teacher that talks to him is like, you're in every drawing. Why would you think? Because he goes, she doesn't love me, or she not love me. He's like, she doesn't even know how to. I don't know how to talk to her. She doesn't like me, and she's like, you're her world, like literally, like
he's like, you're right,
and like so true. It's just mostly about trying to make sure she's okay, which she is. She's like more well balanced than you, like, I don't know, but
yeah, I feel like she's so chill,
right?
Like compared to with everything happening, she's like whatever.
And obviously he's the one that's experienced.
Is that she also won't eat. Like that's another thing. And
that's
he's
a thing
like,
they kind of were subtle about too.
Yeah, and she's like, did she eat? And the babysitter's like, what do you think? No.
Yeah.
So then when she does start to feel better, you can see it because she'll start eating a lot and asking for more food and stuff. And it's subtle, like you said.
Yeah, but it's so cute. Well done.
But so he goes.
Oh yeah, he lines it up being like, it's like horrible pay, horrible hours, and he's like, but anyway, you need. And I don't know what he says that kind of. He doesn't even say he doesn't take the job right away. And then later on, when his aunt is again pressuring him or something, he's just like, I guess I'll call and I'll do it, because he's like he's desperate. So he's gonna do there, and he does the first night. Yeah, he goes the first night, and literally he's just like, well, I'm just gonna go try to do my sleep regression, because he keeps trying to go into his he has these sleeping pills, trying to remember what that guy looked like. Yeah, he's just constantly he's like, let me enter the dream again to see what happened. And the first night, I mean, it's kind of weird, right? But nothing really happens, right? In the first night, except for he's honestly, having the dream. It's like a game where you're just like, what's happening? What does happen is that in his dream, he turns around, and for the first time, it's sad too, because every time he has the dream, he's running, and they do the quick cut of him like running as a kid, and then he like turns into an adult, and it's so sad because he's just screaming the way he was as a 12-year-old, but he's like a 30-year-old man. Well, I guess he's supposed to be 25, but it's literally that idea of just when you're in those memories, like you're like, no, like you're trying to make the change, and you're the older person now, and it's just wild. Or anytime you're like inner child, like clearly that's your inner child, but you're like, it's coming out from your adult body. And I'm like, but when he first sleeps there that night, he turns around and he sees the 5 children, and he's like, hello, like, who are you? I don't know who you guys are. And they're like staring at him, and then they run away, and he tries to catch one of them, and they just scream, and one of them screams in his face, and he like wakes up startled. You're like, Then he goes home. It's just sad, because he was a baby as well. Like, he was a kid, and that's the thing, is that obviously it's never his fault. It's just that it's like, he was just a kid. He puts a lot on himself, because he's like, I know I saw that man. I just have to remember at least him. What's even sadder is that he's not even thinking I should have done something. He's literally thinking, I saw this man, and I know the theory that everything you've ever seen is in your brain somewhere. And he's like, I know this man is there, and I'm like, that's even sadder, because it's not even like he's like, it was my fault. Like, even if he does feel that in certain ways, he's more so even looking at it like, I know I have the answer, and I have to work at this. It's just so sad. But yeah, he sees these kids now, and he's just like, huh? Yeah. Because for the first time, he's like, now there's something new in here. Like, what's happening? Yeah. So, but when he goes home, all that. Then the next night he comes back, he's just sort of doing the same thing, and he hears a knock outside. Oh yeah. And the security footage. And he goes, and it's a cop, and it's Vanessa, which when I saw her in the theater, I was like, she's like, yeah, I'm Vanessa. And I was like sitting there like this. And like then I was like, like 2 seconds later, literally, I was like, oh my God, Nemo. It's literally like, Vanessa. Your son, Chico? I can't stop. Your son, Nemo? I didn't even think about it. And I was like, oh my God, hello. That's Vanessa. Yeah. I love it. And so his arm gets all scratched up, because in his dream, he has another dream trying to catch one of the kids, because he's like, guys, can you help me? Like, I don't know why you're here. And they're just like, they don't say anything. And one of them like scratches him. And funny enough, I remember I saw it, and you were like, wait, I saw that too. Like literally their face, every now and then some of their faces are blurred out. Because
there are the 5 kids, but one of them is in the front. And then the other ones, you don't really see their faces very well throughout.
Yeah,
except
you
for
really
one.
don't, except
you see
for
Foxy
later on, yeah.
sometimes. The boy,
That's
you
true.
know,
Yeah,
he's like the
yeah,
only
no,
one that
yeah,
you
the
really
redhead.
see. Maybe one of the other ones, but not as my other redhead.
And the blonde one, the main one, is he played Luke in the what's it called, Obi-Wan series. It is so cute. But yeah, you can tell he's like the leader, but also just like the main one. You're like, hold on.
And then they've got so some of them have like one has a top hat in the back.
Oh yeah.
One's got like bunny ears on, so it's like obviously one of them has like the hook, I think.
Stop.
And so one of them, it's Foxy cuts him in his dream, and so when he goes to get Vanessa, she's like, "What? You're bleeding," and she's also acting really weird.
It's this thing where you're like, "Why are you being helpful?" Like, not even like the sense that you could be vague and like be kind of weird about it, but like she was being like purposefully like not flirty, but trying to be like coy about it. And it's like, is this the time and place?
I just don't understand
What's
because
happening?
it's like I understand what she's saying. She's like, I can only say so much, right? And she's quote unquote trying to help him in her own way. But I also feel like she could have done it differently.
Yeah, and also,
but it's like I guess she has to like be that way in order for the person, the owner, to not catch on.
True.
So she just has to be like.
And for also like the person, like for the animatronics themselves to not feel like, I don't know, like it's just like make it more natural.
Yeah,
like let
she's
them
like, okay,
get,
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but she sort of is, she's just like, oh, let's look at the animatronics. And that's the first time he sees them.
Yeah.
She's like, isn't this great? Do you want to dance? And he's like, what? And then something happens where they like short circuit and turn off. And he's like,
yeah. Okay. That's right. I forgot that was the first. Yeah. Then in between it's in between the second and third night where the other people break into it. Right.
Yeah. Because, well, this is when she tells him about the kids, right? And she's like, you know, between this and the kids in the 80s, like going missing here in the 80s, like you're going to quit. And he's like, what?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, why don't you know? It's obvious. Like, hello, this is a thing that was in the news. And he's like, well, obviously I didn't know this.
Yeah, he's like, okay, well, it happened. Yeah, but
she's so nonchalant about it.
Yeah, she's like, whenever. And it's like, hello, which it is funny because I'm like, he grew up in this town, it looks like. So it's funny that maybe, we don't know. I guess. We
don't know.
Maybe they moved. Maybe they were
because
from Nebraska.
He didn't know about it.
Yeah, he did. And also, you'd think it would be.
Yeah, because the thing about this movie is it's also set in the early 2000s. So because at the time I was like, this is not adding up. Like timeline
You're
wise.
like, wait a minute.
80s.
Yeah.
And then Vanessa went there as a kid, but she's in her 20s. Like it was our 30s.
It's funny because we were questioning
sense.
it at first, and it's funny, but like obviously everything used in it is the like 90s, 2000s technology, and then you don't even see any cell phones.
No
iPhones,
iPhones,
the surveillance,
like
everything looks like it. So you're like, oh, okay. It was cute. I like how they did it.
Yeah.
It was perfect setting for that.
Because I was like, wait a minute.
You're like, wait a minute. Honestly, we're just always feeling like it just feels like home anytime I see 90s, early 2000s stuff. Like I feel like I'm a kid again just watching it. I'm just like, oh, I've been here. Like this is my home. Like, ugh, adorable.
But what you were saying about the people, so there's people who are gonna break in.
Yes. Oh yeah. So then we kind of see that there's this guy that was like staking out, seeing like what happened when like Mike is going in, just like what he does, whatever. And then we see later that he's the brother of the babysitter for Abby, and they're at a diner meeting with the evil aunt and her lawyer, and we're like, I was like,
the poor lawyer is like traumatized.
I know, he's like, I shouldn't be hearing this because she's over there plotting. Like, there's a legal term for it.
We can kill him.
Yeah,
and it's like,
but even before that, where she's like just trying to find something, like there's some legal term for that where it's like you're purposely trying to like not frame him, but like entrapment. No, it's not that, but you know what I'm talking about. And so he's like, I shouldn't be here, but they're basically trying to find stuff, and she's like, you went through their whole house, and the babysitter's like, yeah, and he's like a good brother.
Yeah,
and
she's like she's clearly torn up about it. She's like, I don't want to throw him under the bus like to the wolves, and
so then like we see that basically they're trying to do that, and then the brother is like more determined than this babysitter, obviously, to be like, we'll get money for this, obviously. No, but
at first he's like, she did what you wanted,
you're
pay her. And she's like, no, I told her to look and find something, but
not tell me that you're right. He was more like, my sister did what you wanted.
He's more like
protecting her, and then being like, okay, well, if we fight, because then they obviously get more determined. He gets more determined later.
It's not like he's a good guy.
Yeah, because he later on is like, okay, we found, like, I think he sees something, and I don't know what happens, but he's like,
no, he basically was like, but
me and my buddies can go in there or something. Like they basically
he's like, but he's working at that place, right? And he's gonna lose his job. That's the only thing that's keeping him like
afloat,
looking
basically.
good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna make him lose his job.
So they go in there during the day, mind you, obviously, because he's there nights. And I'm like, they just don't have a security, anything, no cameras.
And also they have cameras.
They have cameras, but we're not gonna ever like what?
No.
So they like go in there, him and like 2 other guys, and the sister's waiting in the car, and they
she's torn up about it the whole time.
Yeah, so they go in there, and then the sister is waiting in the car, or the babysitter's waiting in the car. And then, okay, so we see them in there, and they're just like bringing baseball bats, doing the thing that you said where you're like, I hate it when men do that, where they're like, oh, like, they're like,
yeah, let's do it. And I'm like,
you're tearing up a pizzeria that's run down in the middle of the day. Get a life, literally.
They're like, whoa. And I'm like, can you chill? Sorry, now I'm thinking of Chuya.
Stop. Woo. That is the definition of cool. These losers, get out of here.
Yeah, I don't mind when people do like
yeah, we love a good woo.
You know what I mean?
But not when you're like the worst. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, can you not?
So they're in there doing that typical stuff, and it's dark in there still because obviously it's just run down, and there's
like
lighting,
no lights.
but there's not. Like it's a whole thing. So we see
like,
that
there's lighting. I'm like, there's no light.
But it's like we see like it's the creepy lighting.
Yeah,
it's like just the backup like stuff that they talked about where he's like, if anything, what is it that Matthew Lillard said? He's like, if anything happens, just
turn on the breaker.
Yeah, turn on the breaker. If anything happens, and we're like, okay.
I know. I'm like anything. If it floods, turn on the breaker.
So they're in there, and then we see one of them is in like the kitchen area, and he opens like a cabinet thing or like a locker thing, and we see that cupcake, which is Chica's. And
let's eat.
Literally. And so that's the one that Stevie was referencing, that it gets his face like mauled, like it just completely
he gets attacked.
He's freaking out, screaming, obviously. We see that the older man that's with them sees that.
He starts screaming. Screams,
high pitch, amazing.
Literally.
Runs out, gets trapped in a closet by Bonnie, killed. In Ixnay on the, and then the brother's the last one who's like, what just happened? And he like
comes in contact with Foxy.
Because at first he comes to the closet and is like, what's happening here? And then he
sees
turns around.
Bonnie walk out like, and then he runs away.
Ugh. And then we got our Kellen Goff doing his.
Kellen Goff comes through.
And they don't even, I don't think they show his exactly, but we just see.
It's the thing where they always show Foxy like storm towards somebody.
It looks like the game.
And then they're like, no.
Yeah, where
and
he just like pops
yeah,
out.
Literally, that's what it is. Also,
then,
these animatronics, so they're possessed, of course. So they're semi ghosts and semi animatronics because they kind of teleport at times. Yeah, and I'm just like, how did they?
That's not possible.
And they can like open doors and stuff.
They're definitely like a ghost situation.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah, and also even just the door locking.
The door will lock
without
or
it
open,
being. You never see them do something that's so you're like, mystical, supernatural.
Yeah.
So then, we have but then so that happens in this, and then this is the thing too, where I was kind of like, these aren't good people necessarily, but they're also not like, it would have been different if these were men that were like, I was telling you, like doing a trafficking ring, like we're doing something like with the like something that you're like, yeah, get them. But it sucks because like, yeah, they're not great, but like that's not the death. They don't deserve that. Like it's not, it doesn't fit. The punishment doesn't fit the crime, dare I say. Dostoevsky. So this babysitter going in made me a little bit sad because I was like, I genuinely did feel bad for her because
I felt bad for her too. And I wish that they had said why she needed the money because not that it's excusing it, I'm just wondering why they needed it that badly.
Yeah, because I mean, he was not that babysitting was necessarily taking care of stuff, but
no,
I just
because
wondered
he wasn't paying her.
Oh, wait, was that said?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
he's like, I'll pay you.
Oh, that's right. The whole joke, because I was like thinking that she was like making eyes at him. Like, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So in essence, like, yeah, they're not. Yeah. But I'm like, I just want to know. But she was clearly like, what's happening? Like, goes inside, and then there's a little ghost boy, and he's like, come this way, and she's like, what the hell? And she follows him into a room with there's a Freddy in there, and he's just standing, and then the kid's like, warmer, and then she walks up to the Freddy, puts her face right in front of the face. Could have not paid us to stay. Are you kidding me?
Well, apparently I would, because like I was saying earlier, I was just like, I want
to
be.
Stevie's like, I can see the draw slowly,
yeah, I'm like I get it, but I'm also like, yeah,
literally,
but also I'm like, no,
man,
yeah, it's like flirting with danger. You're just like,
but she just does the thing so close, as if there's someone in the suit
And then she gets attacked. She gets sucked in and chomped in half.
And her body, like the other half of her falls
which
off.
is what happens in the game with William.
The second son, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're like, man.
You're just like, oh.
And then
see that
what's
connection.
funny is that as soon as that's over, he comes back the next night. Obviously, like he gets the call, Vanessa shows up.
She's like, hey. Where like this
what
place
happened? Like,
just got trashed. If you're not gonna lock it, here are your sleeping pills. And I'm like, girl.
And we're like, no mention of the bodies.
Know? First of all, it wasn't even unlocked.
Yeah,
it wasn't unlocked.
They broke in. Y'all didn't hire a security guard for the daytime.
If she had gone to the front, she would have seen that it was locked.
Yeah, no, they didn't hire a security guard for the day, so that's on y'all. That's on y'all. I mean, she's like, I'm just the police.
She's like, explain it to me. Or also, does she sleep? She's up all day.
I know. You see. Anyway. But again, it's just it's a thing where like, and then I'm like, she's obviously knows something because she did not mention a single thing about the bodies. So you're like, girl,
like who moved them?
Yeah, please. And then literally it's like, if anything, I guess if you're still thinking she doesn't know, you just be like, someone moved them before, like the animatronics moved them before she got there or something. But so then you see that the next night is going and Abby's like, I'm going with you.
Yeah, because she keeps calling. Yeah. He keeps calling the babysitter though.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, fine. Because she keeps wanting to go.
And he's like,
ain't no way. No.
But it's sad too because, I mean, he has a moment of bonding with Vanessa, kind of, but she's still kind of like, get rid of these pills anyway.
She's like, okay. So, Anyway, chucks
the pills.
She's like that. And he's like, I just told you I'm using them to try to find my brother's kidnapper.
You see.
But yeah, Abby goes.
Yeah. And he sets up like a fort for her, sleeps in the office with him. He still falls asleep though. Mm-hmm. And so he's having enters the dream again. She's there. I don't know if she gets up on her own.
He's like, no, do not leave this room. That's your one rule, or else you're never coming back here. And she's like, okay. Yeah. So she makes a little tent and she's like, it's like camping. And he's like, why would you
do that to me specifically?
She doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, she might.
Because she like has never been told. He never. She just knows
that she had a brother that died, but that's about it.
Which no, she doesn't, because remember later he's like, we had a brother.
I thought he did it like I thought he was doing it in like how we had a brother, right? And she goes, yeah, mom and dad didn't talk about it.
No, I thought he was like, I think it was did you know we had a brother? No, and she was like, oh, and he's like, yeah, I never talk about him, and she's like, mom and dad never.
I think it was her say. I thought it was him being like, how we had a brother, right? After us not talking about it for like, you were probably 4 the last time we talked about it. So I'm like, hey, how we have a brother, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh yeah, but and she's so detached from it, like she's not being disrespectful, but she's just like detached. No, you can tell they've just not talked about it.
Yeah,
at all. So yeah, I think it's more so that she's just doesn't know a single thing except for we had a brother.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah.
And then what happens though is that they fall asleep, like you said, and she gets woken up by one of the kids. They're like, Abby.
Oh, remember? Yeah. And then
she goes to the bathroom.
And then we hear her scream, and he is immediately jolted because he's having a dream again with the kid, like trying to get information.
Because he's like, help me. I know like you're those kids. Like, help me. Do you know who took my brother? And they're like, well, what are you going to give us if we tell you? And he's like, anything. They're like, and then they disappear, and that's when you hear Abby screaming.
Yeah. And so he runs into, which it freaked me out because he runs into the main area, and they're like, all the animatronics are in like a circle, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, it literally were like, what are they doing? It like creeped me out. I don't know. It just freaks me out, like you walking in and seeing something like on the ground, and they're all just like doing something. But they weren't. But it's
they were
like,
tickling her.
Yeah, which also side eye. But anyway, like I mean, they're just kids. But like I'm like side eye. But so she's like screaming, laughing, and so he's like, but also he's registering so much at the same time. He's like,
I love how he's like. He picks up a chair, and then Freddy's walking towards him, and he's like, Abby, what is this?
Literally.
He's like, what the hell is this? And she's like, oh, these are my friends.
Literally having to process.
I like to, they only like, they like when I draw them pictures. So she drew them a heart, and they're like, okay. And he's like, we're getting out of here.
Yeah,
basically.
He's like, that's so great.
That's great.
Run towards the exit. And
once they knew that like he's on their side.
Yeah, was it Freddy that walks up to him? Like,
yeah, he was so cute because he's like looking angry, and then he's like, oh, and he like softens,
the eyebrows like, raise up.
His little eyebrows raise up.
Perfect.
But yeah, so they go home, and then he's like, Abby, you're not going back there.
He's literally like, so that happened.
No, what happens is when he has that conversation with her, because then she's eating.
Yes.
And he's like, so I had a brother. She's like, yeah. And then
she reveals that she's like, they talked to me about it or something. They know.
Well, the reason is because he's like, well, can you one, he saw her drawings.
Oh, that's right.
And the kids,
he's in her room. He's in her room, and he's like, wait a minute, these are the kids. Yeah.
And then he's like, hey, can you explain this to me? And it's the shot that we keep seeing of his little brother with his little plane in the back of the car getting taken away.
And
so
he's like, yo, she straight up drew something that she does not know the details of.
That's why he's like, so
you know this.
Yeah.
So what? And so she like reveals, obviously, like, yeah, they know stuff. And he's like, well, can we find? And she's like, yeah, well, I can talk to them.
They only talk about the yellow rabbit.
Yeah. And he's
but
like,
I can ask them. And he's like, okay, sure. Cool.
And it's like perfect because, again, we're like, he would never go back there for another night. But now this is clearly his whole life.
Like,
his life. Her life is
vision.
His whole life at this moment, he's just, what do you say? Tunnel vision. Like
tunnel
you said.
vision. And he's trapped in that time. Of course, which makes sense. It's like that you would be like stunted and sort of like, I remember being 12, this was the most traumatic thing,
but he like so
and
can't
it's
see
like
past what he wants, and it's like he's like, okay, we're gonna go back then, like,
and
forget
he's also
all the
like,
scared
he's just committing his life to that
so he's very much like, cool, like, we'll do that. So I feel like he just completely washed away. He's like, that was freaky, we're going back. So they're back the next time, because I think when they're back the next time, they run into Vanessa.
She runs up, Abby runs up, she's like, hey, walks up on stage, and then they all come to life, go around her, and Vanessa's there, and he's like, so you knew about
and she's
this?
Like, oh yeah.
She's like, oh, so you figured it out? He's like,
we're like, what kind of game were you playing, miss? Come on, girl. Now. But so she's all acting, we were getting annoyed because like he was like,
so
okay, nonchalant, because he's like, sets the boundaries.
Yeah, if we set some ground rules, then fine, we can play with them. And he's like, right, Vanessa? Like, having
the other authority in the room.
Give me some backup. And she's like, well, I think we need the chairs to build the fort. And he's like, what?
And it's like, he's like, literally
do both.
He's being exactly what the court would need to see him being. The most responsible guardian, being like, when we're playing with anything that's dangerous, or, there's just rules. And I'm like, come on. Anyway, so, it comes to bite them in the butt, because literally they're building the forts, having fun, which I know you were pointed out where you're like, is that the scene that they're trying to refer to being too?
There was like a moment where they were like, oh, haha.
But it didn't
and then like Bonnie falls over.
Oh, yeah. And you were like, what was the point?
Cheesy,
but it was so
like,
funny though. Yeah. It was like, what? But it was like, that, and then she's up again, he's talking to Vanessa again, being like, so whatever, and then she looks up and she sees, like you said, Abby gets on stage, she tries to touch
the guitar.
Is it Bonnie's guitar? I don't remember whose guitar it is, but she tries to touch it, and she's seeing it happen, and Vanessa's like,
might be Freddy's or Bonnie's,
right, but Vanessa's like, no,
she's like, wait,
and
then she gets electrocuted because ground rules were not set.
Nothing was
you
said.
Said something.
And also, she wouldn't know. Even Josh wouldn't know that. Mike wouldn't know that that's an issue to touch. So clearly, that was a big rule that only Vanessa knew. Should have made a thing.
She's always like, oh, I know where these things are, and let's go to the back. And I grew up here, and I was here all the time. And he's like, first of all, why would you know where they keep the first aid? Why would you know where they keep the blankets and the tablecloths when you were like 8? Here. Yeah. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You just were like a little kid. You would have never known the back rooms like that.
Yeah,
like,
so he asks her, and back there.
You know what? I never thought of that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. That. Yeah. I literally, the whole time, I'm like, girl. And that's why he's also like,
kind of being like, girl.
Are being suspicious. Like, what do you actually know about this place?
You know this place really well.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, well, I came here a lot or whatever.
And it's like, what, got a tour every time? Hello?
Yeah. Did they show you where the tablecloths were?
They're like,
part of the tour?
Come here.
Yeah.
It's like, what? We'll save it for later.
We'll save it. There's a character in the back, which I think is the baby one. But
yeah,
it could
I think
be
it
the
is.
ballerina
I think
one.
it is.
But I think it's baby, yeah. But also it might be, because they kind of look similar.
The puppet situation, Marionette.
Yeah, there's like 2.
The baby has more of like literally like a raggedy and almost like circus.
Yeah,
and then the puppet.
Then there's the ballerina puppet thing. Because there's 2. There's like a ballerina and baby. But also the ballerina
and
baby
there's
is
15
a ballerina.
versions of each, literally.
Yeah, and then there's scrap baby.
Man.
Or maybe anyway, there's a doll, there's an animatronic back there that's like on the ground, and I'm like, hey, that's one of the I can't tell if it's circus baby, but he's like, oh, and he's like drawn towards it, and she's like, no, it's gonna these are like all wonky, and it'll basically chop your arm off if you, because there's
and we're like,
spring traps
this is
in
just
there,
which again,
to keep people in that were wearing it. And I was like, well, why? Or to keep them safe with the electronics in there.
Oh yeah, it's like those things
that.
go in, and then you get in front of it or something, and it's like supposed to just be a guard to keep you from like getting poked. But then it also
goes on top of them too, because like later they show.
But then how is that possible? Because if it goes on top, it's like, I think it's meant to be like a base wiring
above.
Yeah, like a wiring, but in front of all the stuff that's like wires, and so it's like don't get poked, so you just kind of place to lay.
That's what I was thinking too. And then later they show something else.
Kind of weird,
but maybe that was just because
might be a modified
doing,
version.
That was like a newer one.
So we see that, and we're like, these are clearly literally the most dangerous thing. Why were children ever in this building anyway?
But it was cool that they had that there and other like animatronics that you see throughout.
There's a lot of calls.
Like the ones that are sort of like sitting there, and I'm like, hey, that's like one from the movie too.
And then we see Balloon Boy every now and then just pop up, do a little tiny jump scares.
Pops up 3 times, 4 times maybe.
So that's the thing. People were also complaining that there weren't enough jump scares, and I'm like, I think there's 1 enough, and then 2 they set the vibe well that you don't need to just have. You're gonna get tired of jump scares because they're different when it's not like you're playing the game and you're trying to avoid. Like you will expect it if they keep doing it 50 million times.
Yeah, I think that
I don't know.
There's a way to make something eerie and creepy without just jump scaring you the whole time, which is what I like.
Like obviously you have to build trust before you do a jump scare. You know what I mean? So like they do a few of them. But then it's that whole thing. Remember I told you I studied that in class once about like Jaws. Like the moment you do one jump scare, it lessens the next one. Yeah. So it's like you kind of have to be really strategic with it. So it's like
that's why Jaws also you barely see the shark and it's like the most suspenseful
and it's like
movie.
They did the one where he like pops out of the water. Yeah. Well, the very first time you really see him. It's like that was a huge jump scare, but like before that, there's one underneath, like when you see the captain or something or like something of the ship, and you're scared from his corpse. But it's like. I think later on Spielberg was like, we lost the loudness of the for the shark because we did that first, which is so funny because it's like obviously still iconic. But I think that's so I don't know. I just feel like they did a great job of being like, well, it's still got the spookiness, and it's just it's great.
Plus, there's other things that we're focusing on. I feel like, you know what I mean? I just feel like jump scares aren't everything.
It's not, and it's like
you said, it can cheapen it sometimes.
Yeah, and it's like obviously,
but they did have them.
Freddy, like Five Nights at Freddy's, is about jump scares, but it's like, you know,
I mean,
it's not everything. It's everything.
The most, like the first one is literally you being like,
literally when you think of jump scares, it's like Five Nights at Freddy's is up there.
I guess that makes sense as to why people were like, but where are they?
Like, where's the game? Remember, where's the game?
Yeah,
make a live I need it to be just like the game.
They're like mad that you weren't just like
security
looking at
footage
6 different screens and
ventilation units. We're like, anyway,
yeah, hello.
The little kid laugh. I can't. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. So, sorry, I like went on a tangent of the jump scares after that. But we were talking about how.
So we were talking about how they have all the characters in the background. We had Balloon Boy that he popped up.
Yes.
And now, basically, like you said, she gets electrocuted. And so, she gets electrocuted because he was like, oh, we're going to go find the blankets, but... You know,
that's right.
Take your time to ask them about. Remember what I told you? That's right.
He's like, So and she's like, okay,
I'll
gonna talk to them. Yeah.
And then she gets electrocuted, and then that's when Vanessa's like, I don't care what you do with your life, but never bring her back here again. And he's like, I'm literally trying to. He's like, I saw your face when I asked you about this place before, and you look terrified. So like, what's the deal? And she's like, we'll not tell him. And she's like, just don't bring Abby here.
She's like, if you bring her back, I'll shoot you. And we're just like, okay, well. And guess what? All of a sudden,
he doesn't bring her back because the next day he was like called somebody, and also so Abby also finds the papers at one point where she's like, their aunt had given Mike papers to be like, sign her over to me. Okay?
That's right.
And Abby finds them and she's like, why would you? And he's like, no, like this is not the plan.
Those are just papers.
And so when he doesn't have a babysitter go back to work, he calls his aunt and he's like, please just come in, like, and she thinks like the worst, right? But he goes back, he gets his sleeping pills again, and he's like, that's it, like I'm gonna do this one more time. I'm gonna find, you can tell he's like, this is my last try.
Literally,
I'm gonna do
this is my fifth
and then this is my fifth night. Literally. And I'm gonna find out what happened. And so funny. He does that. And
also within the movie, like in the game, it's obviously always 5 nights because they're like, they say in the game, I think too, like no one lasts past that. But then in the movie, they kind of imply that too because it opens with that guy getting killed.
Yeah, so there's another security guard
so I think in the game, it's that thing too where like with the people who get hired for it, it's like, yeah, they don't make it past 5 nights. So it's like always a thing.
Yeah. So. And they're not doing that. I was surprised because I feel like a lot of movies like that, especially Five Nights at Freddy's, would be like, night 1,
right?
Night 2,
you know what?
And they don't do that.
I was just thinking in my head how I was like, wait, we're on the 4th night now. Like when we were like, talking about it,
that the case?
Yeah, and it's like it's pretty. What did you say? You were like, you know, it never really dawned on me. Wait, this is 5 nights. Like it literally, it's like there's multiple nights. There's 5 nights here, and they do it really well because it's like the first one, low key. Second one, Vanessa. Third one, he takes Abby first time. Fourth one, both of them are there, and then the 5th one, he's like, I mean business.
I'm going back.
He's like, I'm ready.
So he does go back, and he goes in his dream again, and then he's like, okay, like he's like, wait, this isn't how it happened. He gets there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything's
It's a different. They're all sitting at the picnic
all together.
Because the whole thing is like the parents walk away for 2 seconds and then disappear forever. And that's why the little boy
I don't even.
It's like,
honestly,
where did y'all go? You needed more
scary.
ketchup.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You went to literally the store? Like, what?
Yeah, or they went to get like a thing because the soda fell over.
Oh, yeah. Like they're just moving for 2 seconds. And I'm like, a whole minute of just, I don't know. I mean, I know that that's what they say, that it does happen like that.
It's hard. It's scary.
There's a lot of people on the campgrounds.
Yeah,
I'm just
there
like,
were.
good Lord. I don't know.
No.
He's in the dream. Like, yeah. So
he's in the dream. And then the kids are like, he's like, this isn't how it happened. And they're like, but it could be what happened. Really what you want is just to save your brother.
Sales pitch.
Literally, that is what
could be.
He's
what
like,
you
this
have.
is what you want though.
Yeah.
And the kid is so good at
the blonde
being
kid. Yeah.
creepy.
He's so cute.
The blonde kid who's
so
one
cute.
of the Freddys.
Yeah.
And he's like you said, like the leader of those kids. And
it's that thing. What were we talking about? Is like I said something about like I can see this child's future as he talks. Like he's literally like a little man.
I thought he was in other things besides
that, because he doesn't have a huge
Obi-Wan,
role as Luke
because I was like,
he probably
think
has
I've seen
been.
it, but I
his
looked
voice
and I
sounds
couldn't
familiar.
see anything.
Like just the way he even talks, I'm like he's just knows. It's one of those kid actors. Where
I might
like,
be thinking of someone else that's like so similar, like you said, where it's like I can see your adult version.
Yeah, I'm like
you're so good at
it. You got big future kid.
What a future.
What a future. But yeah, so he's over there like hyping it up.
He's like, no, it's fine. This is what you want, basically. And he's like,
it's sad though, because it's literally that thing of like you could stay here forever.
Yeah.
And it's like that idea.
He's like, you don't need to find out who did it.
I think of that
what
Bruno
you really
Mars,
want is to bring back your brother.
They would say the thing of like, can I just stay here? And the rest
I don't
of my
want
days
I don't.
Here. And I'm like,
no. I know what you're talking about, and I don't want to.
When they use that for anime edits, I'm like, please stop, please. But it's like they're basically saying like it's a thing where clearly you need to move on in life, but it's that tempting thing of just like, what if you could just live in that moment that you just were. So he's so enamored by it, though.
He's like, oh,
like he doesn't even.
Well,
it's
because
amazing,
what he's saying is
he's
like, what you really want is your brother back. Like you don't really need to know who it was.
Yeah.
Like what you want is to be with him. So you just stay here.
Kind of like what we're talking
about,
and
you give us what we want.
Yeah, where he's being this whole time. He's been pretty logical. He's letting it consume him, but he's been pretty logical over the idea of like, I'm not even thinking about what I did. Like, I'm not even thinking about how I wish I had gotten it back. I'm thinking now how I can find this man. And so now it's like, it's really hitting his inner child to be like, you could just live with it. Like he could just be okay. And you're like, oh, and so he's completely.
He's like, yeah, like you said, he just gets really emotional and taken over. And he's like, okay, but you have to give us Abby. And he's like,
and then he says yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because he's like staring at his little brother.
Yeah, his little brother. And also the mom is like, you were never the one to take care of Abby. Like you shouldn't be the one taking care of her. You weren't actually fit for this.
Yeah, like this is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, you're supposed to be with us. And honestly, you're not cut out to be raising her and stuff.
Yeah, it's like.
And he's like, okay. And then the second he says yes, Freddy's like calling him Freddy because obviously we don't know the kid's name. He just looks like, okay, perfect. And then Mike is like, wait a minute. He like realizes what he said,
because he doesn't even have a moment of like, that he's completely been tricked by his emotions, because he doesn't have a moment of like, what? No way. And then getting convinced. He's just immediately like, oh, okay. And that he's just under like
it's so sad.
But yeah, so then he like snaps
Then he's
out
like,
of it.
wait a second. He's like, this isn't right. And then they're gone. And then he's trying to get out. He's like, wait, come back. And they're like attacking him.
Yeah, they keep running by him with like
slicing him.
It's not just like, what's his name? Foxy hitting with the hook. It's like all of them are like hitting parts of him that it's like, So he's getting cut up. And then, what happens after that? It's like,
I was trying to remember because he obviously wakes up at one point. Oh, what happens is, and we've seen this before with the first security guard, he wakes up and then he's like, there's a Freddy. There's like a version of Freddy that he opens up and the back of him is like all of the, you were like, is this Saw? Because
literally.
it was like basically whirling, what is that?
Like blades?
Blades.
Like
I'm like, what's the word?
What are the sharp things?
So he's like in a chair that he's bolted into and the back of Freddy is coming in.
Like which I'm almost put on like a mask, but like it's got the blades.
Gonna like, which I'm like, is that kind of what also with the kids, like, is that, I'm assuming that's not how they were put in there, but I'm like, I don't know, because it's like all these people who they kill,
you see them later, like, you see their bodies later as like inside the animatronics that are like left over, so you're like,
They put them aside.
Yeah. And I'm like, so are they slowly being integrated into it like that? Like, and then some of them have I don't know. Were they trying to do that with, I mean, I thought they were just trying to kill the other security guard as well. And then him as well. Like, but
I think they're just trying to kill him, but they're like, this is the best way to like sort of hide the body.
It literally looks like, it reminded me of the scene in, I don't remember which Saw it is, but remember when they introduced like the bear trap thing where they put them in the bear?
4.
And it just reminded me of how he's sitting there and how they're just
Man,
like,
I want to rewatch the Saws.
We'll cover them.
Yeah.
We're like,
all 10.
Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
But yeah, so he succeeds at what the other security guard didn't, which is like unbolting himself. So he like was able to unscrew one of the things.
He gets out.
Yeah, so he gets out just in time. He's injured though. And I'm trying to remember if he
starts running and
he's running the same way that the babysitter and doesn't he stumble upon them?
At the same time, what happens is that on the other side of things, we have Abby at home.
That's right.
And then she comes out of her room and Freddy, Golden Freddy, which is the one who's like missing an ear and an eye, which we haven't seen up until now. The one we've seen is the one on stage. And also on top of that, he's in their house, giant animatronic, and then the little boy version of him, the blonde version is there. And he's like, hey, and she's like, oh my God. He's like, come on, it's time to come play. And she's like, also she runs up, she's like, Freddy, and he's like, not Freddy.
Yeah. He's
and I'm like, oh, and she's like,
okay.
Anyway, and then you see the aunt like knocked over. He's like, silly aunt.
I know. We're still trying to figure out if she was killed, but I think she was just knocked out. Because Abby, I'm not saying that she, even though she hates her, and also I feel like she would have acted a little bit different. Even if she was, I feel
like if she was dead and no blood, she might have been like, oh, she's asleep.
Yeah, maybe. But they don't address it. No. But I don't know. I think
she just got knocked out.
I think so. They would have probably shown her face, honestly, if she died, because they show everything else. So anyway, you just see her feet. So she's been taken care of, and they get in a taxi to go to Freddy's, which
is like another. This part is like that, like silly, like I guess
so, but it didn't take me out of it. No. Like he was just funny enough that it was not too much. Like it was just like, what really, man? He's like,
where to? And then he's like,
to the girl.
He's like, where to, little girl?
Little miss or whatever.
And then all of a sudden the car, like, he's like, what the hell? And then he gets scared because he sees Freddy back there.
And then he's just like, all the freaks.
He's like, what the hell?
We're like, it's us literally getting in the car
at the cons.
Cosplay.
We're like, hey guy, and
we get in and they're like, why?
The Uber's like, what is this?
They're like, why are you literally? They're like, why are you dressed as a Russian man?
What is this?
Why do you have fur on? Why do you have a face paint under your eyes?
Why do you look like a demon? Why are your eyes red? And we're like, oh hey. So anyway,
why do you have tattoos on your face? Yeah. Like literally every time we're like, hey.
And we're like, my pupils are red. My eyes are red. My irises. But yeah, so then they get Abby's back at Freddy's.
And yeah, so she's on the way there, and then I think it's that Mike. It's kind of, he stumbles upon the dead bodies, like one of the babies.
He wakes up and Vanessa is like patching him up.
But I thought he'd already seen the dead bodies though. What? Of the babysitter and stuff.
Oh yeah, that happened already.
Right,
but
it's like
when he runs away.
Yeah, and it's like he's running and like he gets saved though, because it's like he's running in the same way that they died. So you're kind of like, is this going to happen? But then it's like you see him wake up to Vanessa helping him, and they're at
because Foxy again. Right, remember he's running, and then
that's what I mean. Like it's the same scene instead. So you're kind of like, oh my gosh, how's he going to get out of this? And I guess it's like, do the doors open? I don't remember, but either way, he's what passes out, wakes up, and that's when he's at the nearby police station. She tells, like, you find out, and so I keep forgetting that they were there because I'm like, they're not safe, but they are. And so she's like,
I know, I keep forgetting they're not in like the back room. She's like, this is like an outpost,
and I'm like, what? And so she's bandaging him up, and then she basically spills everything because he's like, girl, you know everything.
Yeah, he's like, what the hell? Tell me what you know. And so she's like, yeah, he's like, he said what he did. He's like, I said yes, but it was a mistake, and I tried to take it back, but it was too late. And she's like, and he's like, what do they want with her? And she's like, they want to make her like them.
Yeah, she's basically like, they're just kids. They don't remember that the person that's controlling them is basically the one who killed them.
And so she's like, William Afton is the man, and he controls them, and he
founded the place with he founded this place, and then he's the owner, and he's the reason that the kids went missing.
And then she's like, and he's my father.
And literally pulls out the photo, and he sees
the
photo that she's a little girl sitting next to William Afton, and
it's a bunny
inside of a bunny suit, which is like a Bonnie, but it's like spring. It's like different. It's a big yellow that it's the animatronics that you were talking about that you can be inside, and that were built back then to be put inside. And so then she's sitting.
As the kids obviously were like, she's like, they only talk about a yellow rabbit.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's like,
there it is. And so
she's
she's like, that was the owner. And then you see, and she's like, he was my dad. And she's holding a plane that looks just like the one that the brother. So he's like
he literally
freaking out.
He's like, you knew? And she's like, I didn't know at first. But like, and I'm like,
so it's like,
she's like, I didn't know about your brother at first, basically.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, also that man took
the plane,
killed
and gave
that kid,
it to
and
the
then
little
gave
girl.
it to his daughter. Like, ew.
Yeah. No.
Every time I think about that, I'm like,
it's so disgusting. It's like,
terrible.
it's not even like registering how, because
No,
we don't even
it's
know what happened to
bad.
his brother per se.
Yeah, he killed him.
I know, but it's like, we just
but
don't
we
know
don't
the
know
details.
where he
and
went,
it's just
what's happening. It's sad. We don't need to know. It's too sad.
I mean, presumably, you never know if he'll come back. You never know if his brother actually didn't die.
He said it. Well, he said
that.
William said, I killed him and I'm going to kill you too, and blah, 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 blah. Which obviously that's why when he looked at his name, he's like, that's the kid I killed.
He's got a little, instead he ends up being
that's
like a protege
brother.
that he's like raised.
I know. He says he did. But
yeah. But I mean, it's implied.
Yeah.
We're assuming.
Yeah.
And then, but also it's funny because, not funny, but he's like, I saw blah, blah, blah. Like, they killed those people. And like, you know what? And she's like, well, they're not. He's like, they're killing innocent people. And she's like, not innocent. I'm like, okay, yeah, but not to those people. Still.
Yeah.
Bring the murderers and the child pedophile. Like, bring the people that are into there. Then let them take care of them.
Just saying. William Afton. Fuck
Come on. Yeah, this isn't even a Saw thing where it's like these people didn't. Although Saw slowly turned into
also
like he's like, you know what, you wronged me one time, and it's like he's literally
like, you
just cut me off in traffic. Like
you jaywalked, and you know
like,
what?
And you need to learn your lesson.
Is like every other sin. Okay?
Literally,
every sin is the same. I'm like,
literally, that's his whole thing. I'm like, can you stop anyway?
But yeah, then she's clearly traumatized because he's like, fine. Well, then she's like, okay, here, take these. What you can do is take these like stun guns, basically, and like electric things that we attack cattle with and stuff, or not attack cattle, but you know, the animal control thing.
Yeah.
And electric rod.
Electric chair. I'm just thinking of Jim Carrey now in Series of Unfortunate Events.
Yeah. Sorry. I was like,
anyway.
And then
it's so good.
No, at first I was like, Hannibal Lecter?
You're like, wait a minute. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, so they have those.
So then she's like, here, okay, go ahead. And he's like, well, then come with me. Like, you owe me. And she's like, he messed her up, obviously, because having somebody like this as a father is obviously,
and the fact that she's in, like, she's in contact with him. It's not
she's
about,
like, he clearly has something over, like, a control over her, and that's why she also couldn't say anything, because she's like, if I say anything, she's
and
like,
she doesn't want anything to happen to the kids anymore.
No.
Like, she feels protective of them too, and probably because she's like was them, but she was probably their age, obviously, at the time.
I think that he also was probably like, if you don't listen to me, you'll end up like these kids, or like, who knows.
He's like, I'm this close to basically putting you in one.
Know. And I wonder about her mom, like, what happened.
Yeah, again, versus the lore versus like stuff. It's like very interesting,
because the lore is obviously,
because obviously Vanessa is not Michael Afton's. That's a huge thing too, that I feel like
he has a daughter.
We don't really talk about the fact that they changed not just him having a different daughter, but it's Vanessa. That's a difference. Which again, they could just tie it with security breach later. I don't know. They could just make it, maybe.
Because she was like, I'm not going to be any use to you if I go. Meaning, like, obviously she's going to just buckle under. She's going to be like, I can't. So emotionally, the trauma. And so he's like, all right. So not like, okay. So then he goes, and, you know, obviously he's trying to save Abby. And Abby is there with Chica, and Chica's like, come with me. Oh yeah, because they get there.
Obviously.
And then she's like, okay. And then Chica tries to pick her up and put her into that.
Yeah, it goes like a 180 from her being like, everything's
into
fine.
Like the spring track one.
That's right.
And because they want her soul to go into that doll, which is another thing that I'm like, because Henry's daughter goes into, but also who's the one that goes into
Henry's daughter
Circus
goes in,
Baby?
That's Elizabeth Michael's daughter. Not Michael. William Afton's daughter.
William. Yeah. Which makes,
if we said Michael at one point earlier,
so I think that is
William.
I think that is Circus Baby then, maybe. I can't remember what she looks like, but it makes sense because I'm like, I feel like they're like lining up those three as like the way his kids were, but then adding Vanessa in there.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Like Vanessa's separate. I keep
forgetting that,
but the other ones add up.
That's why in our heads we have there's this tiny theory that doesn't necessarily hold up, that we're just like, what if it's like their names are like, what if they just gave Michael Henry's storyline and Henry gets Mike? You know what I'm saying? Like Vanessa, like, where's Henry basically? Where's Henry, and where's his kids, and are his kids was Henry Mike's dad? Like, we're just wondering, because it's almost like Henry was the only one who had a daughter. Like Henry's the one who had one kid, a daughter.
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
but you're thinking instead of it being like, it's like Henry would have the 3 kids and then William would have the 1 daughter.
Right.
So switching it.
Instead of switching it, or like, kind
of like that, which they're like mixing it all up. So I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so
they're trying to put her into
Mike gets
the
there.
animatronic.
Yeah.
So that she can take control of it.
And so Mike gets there, right? And
Mike is like, hey.
Yeah.
And
he's like, what's going on?
He
and she's
also
like,
electrocuted the others.
Oh, yeah. He uses the water at some point. Yeah. And he's like, basically, she's explaining, like, I don't know. They're trying. He's like, yeah. And then he says something in that moment, doesn't he? Where he's like, I learned you're because of the thing that happened.
Yeah. He's like, I'm so sorry. You're the most important to me and I love you so much. And she's like, yeah, I love you too, but we should get out of here.
We need to get out. I'm looking forward to cracking up. I'm looking forward to getting out of here.
To cracking up.
Literally. But he goes, but then it's funny because I forgot to mention that like in his thing when he agrees to say, I'll give up Abby, when he's like caressing his like little brother's cheek, it like turns into him waking up Abby and he's like, oh my gosh, my whole life is right there in front of me.
Cute.
Like you have it right here. And it's just like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. So he's telling her that and she's like, okay, let's get out of here. And they're trying to leave, obviously. And then I'm trying to remember, is it right at what happens?
So they go down the hall and he's like beat up. Okay,
yeah, he is bleeding.
And then as he's running, all of a sudden something attacks his leg and it's the cupcake.
Oh
he's like, oh my God. He's like, Abby, just go. Mm-hmm. And Abby's like, run somewhere.
I just thought of the Wizards of Waverly Place thing where Justin falls.
Just get up.
Alex, and he's like, no, Justin, get up. I know no, Justin, seriously, get up. We have time.
Okay.
Oh. And he like shakes off.
Man,
so
I remember
good.
That episode.
Their humor was so funny.
It was so funny.
I love it. Anyway, but yeah. So then she runs. I'm trying to.
So she runs into like the main area with like all the games and the stage and all that stuff. Right. And she sees them like knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
And he electrocutes the cupcake with the
That's right.
poker.
That's right.
And then he starts running. But when she goes back in, Foxy is like behind one of the curtains. And then the little boy Foxy pops out.
Oh, it's so good. It's like the transition. He's there, and then he goes into the dark, and then Foxy, the animatronic, is there, and it's terrifying.
Creepy. And so he's like slowly like going out to get her, and she hides in the ball pit.
That's right. Oh yeah, there's a whole sequence. He's trying to get her in there. Or he's coming towards her, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike, he's literally
Mike's
limping.
Trying to find her.
Yeah, he's looking, and then
Vanessa shows up.
Vanessa is. But what does she do when she gets there?
Vanessa?
Yeah.
Well, what happens is that Abby's like in the ball pit and you can see that Foxy is about to get her, even though she's hidden. And then all of a sudden someone picks her up and
swoops her out.
And it's Vanessa. And then Foxy's like on the ground.
And then it's like, meanwhile, Mike is about to like exit through like the entrance area kind of or something.
Hmm?
Basically when he sees what
comes
happens
into the main room, remember?
Well,
and
I'm
at
just
that
thinking
point,
about when he sees the yellow rabbit.
Yeah, because they're all in that room with the ball pit, remember? And then he comes in there.
In my head, I thought it was, I have to see. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Sorry. Okay. It reminds me.
It looks like that entrance where he's going to run out,
but you're right.
It's that room.
But basically,
it's the same room.
Yeah, he gets just cut off though from going in.
Another really creepy. That moment was really creepy because honestly, you just see the yellow rabbit come out, but you can tell that it's a person in a suit,
and
which is the most nefarious of all because like
literally like it's
very
that,
tall.
It's that crouch.
He's like 6'4",
and you can tell it's not an animatronic. It's literally a man.
That's what
inside.
I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's literally like the most like humanoid looking thing.
Like if they were all people in suits, infinitely creepier than like the animatronics, obviously.
And it's amazing though because it differentiates him immediately because you know that this guy's different.
It's so weird.
And
I don't
you know that
like
this is the yellow rabbit they're all talking about.
Yeah, because all the kids they're drawing and the kids are like, and then also we know that William Afton wears that suit, right? So then he tries to electrocute and obviously nothing happens because the whole point of the electrocution is it's like it'll stun them for a while, and he just pulls it out. He's like, okay, that doesn't work on me, especially since I'm wearing this suit. And then they get into a brawl.
And then
he's talking the whole time. He's like, I'm gonna kill you like I killed your brother, all this stuff
while the suit is on.
Yeah. And
I forgot he says that. I'm acting like I've never seen it. While the suit's on? No, yeah. But they're just like going at it. Like it's really bad.
And then at one point, he pulls off the mask.
And it's naturally.
And obviously.
Matthew Lillard.
It's Matthew Lillard. And we're like. Also, boo.
No, we love you, Matthew, but it's revealed he's obviously William Afton. Huge thing. And then he does the knife swipe the same way he does a
he knocks
stew.
Out, he goes, and you're like,
Amazing callback. Amazing callback.
Callback.
So he's like, ha. And then
he gets not shot. Oh, she goes, Dad.
Yeah.
Vanessa's behind him.
Yes.
And he's like, what?
He's
Vanessa?
Like, really? Vanessa. He's literally
like, what are you doing here?
She's like, you're supposed to be on lockdown.
Yeah, literally.
And so he's like, so yeah, he, he's like, she's talking to him, and then he kind of gets her into like a chokehold. Basically.
Yeah, he like pushes her. Like, he's like, you had one job to get him to not like let him do his job. And also kill him if he left or whatever. And she's like, that's two jobs.
Literally
and
every
he's
time.
Like, whatever.
You're like, this man can't count.
This man can't count.
It's so funny.
And so they're like brawling.
It reminds me of Hercules when Phil is like, 2 words. I am retired or something. I don't know how he says it. And then Hercules is like, and it's like, wait a minute.
I am retired.
It's like, wait. He's like, maybe 4. I don't remember. I think he
said
4.
something.
And he's like, I am. I don't even know. It's so funny. So, yeah. So then he's over there like pissed off at Vanessa. Meanwhile... Yeah, but okay.
So then, so Mike is passed out and Abby runs up to him.
Yes. Okay, that's right. That's right.
She's like, Mike. And he's like trying to get up. And meanwhile, so let's call him William is like trying to turn. He's like, whatever, Vanessa. I'm just trying to get this guy, right? And he like turns around and she's like, Dad, no. Like, she's like, I'm going to, whatever. And he has his knife out. To get Mike, but he turns around and she's like trying to stop him. She's like, no, I'm not gonna let you hurt them the way you hurt me and those other kids. And then I feel like he's not meaning to, but he's also like, she kind of is trying to stop him.
He's being careless in the sense that he's not like, he's like, what are you doing?
He's like not doing it on doesn't do it on purpose, but also is like you said, he's just careless with it. So she gets stabbed in like the stomach
kind of area.
Abdomen,
yeah. And she's like, Dad. And he's like, Dad. And he has a moment of kind of shock, but then he's kind of like, okay, well, I'm doing this.
Yeah, he's like, oh.
Yeah, well,
okay.
that sucks. Anyway. Yeah. So then he's like going, because he's noticing that they're figuring out that they need to get isn't it that their goal.
What it is that, well, Mike is like, tell them, like, show the kids.
Show them who's the one who did this to them because they don't remember. And so she's like running towards the drawing on the wall that has them all happy with the yellow bunny. And so she's going to draw instead like what was done to them.
She ripped off some paper and drew it.
And he's noticing this and he's like, no. And so she does.
Like, what are you doing?
Draw. This girl's got her crowns everywhere.
Her crayons.
Crayons. I said crown. I say crowns accidentally. I don't mean to, but I do say crowns.
I thought because I was thinking of like
I know that I should be saying crayons,
crayon,
but I think when I say it faster, say crayons.
Some people do say crayon, which
I know, but it's
thought
like
was a lie.
I
when I saw that
don't
TikTok.
align with that way of thinking, but I unfortunately crown, and I accidentally say it though, even though that's not what I want to say.
Oh, because saying crown, I was like thinking of a place like that would have like Burger King crowns.
Think they probably
like,
do.
Crowns?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Right.
Okay.
No, yeah, but I meant crayons.
Yeah.
Crayons. So then she's over there drawing them. And then as it happens though, like you see them have like they're looking at it or like
it's like 2 seconds because
she does it so quick.
You can't just talk to them like they understand through pictures,
like,
right?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you can talk to them, but it's like they're gonna that's their
they
best.
communicate through that best. Yeah.
So it's like literally the bunny with a knife and all the little dead kids. It's so graphic and so sad. Like for a crayon drawing, right?
Yeah.
And then
it looks like the ones that you showed the police and they're like,
yeah,
we got to take this kid to child services or whatever. Yeah.
Immediately they were like all about to attack because obviously he's like, go get them, whatever. Yeah. And then immediately they're like, so anyway.
They're like, so it's you and you're the enemy and you're the problem. Yeah. And so they immediately are coming at him.
Like, immediately starts acting like a narcissist, which he is evil. And he's just like... He's just like, you guys, look at you guys, you're all disgusting. Yeah. Like, I made you. And it's like, bro, he's trying to gaslight them. Yeah,
he's to be literally like, you're nothing. Yeah, you
horrible. You did this. You're gross. And they're like, okay, like, we're going to kill you.
And as they're cornering him, it's like his Springtrap thing in his own suit goes into like his ribs. Like, because it literally, they're like...
the cupcake comes in, like, rips it.
That's right.
I think
and you
that
can
must
see
be something that got messed up, like a wiring, because it like rips it off, you know.
Yeah, and then they're controlling it in a sense though, because they're having it go in because it goes to both sides. So like they're like again, it's the whole thing where like he's been in control of them, but they can control now they've taken control and they can control the suit that he's in. So then they're having that, and it's like literally gutting into him. He's still alive, obviously, but it's like obviously very, very painful. And so they're seeing this, they're surrounding, and they're just dragging him away now.
Well, he puts on the hat because he had his head was off the whole time. He puts on his head again, and he's like, "I always come back." So it's like if he's gonna die in the suit, then his body will stay. You know,
it's implied. Yeah, but at the time they're just like, "We'll let them take care of him." And so then they're like leaving. They grab Vanessa. I was like, "Did she die?" But they're grabbing her, and so she's fine. Or well, fine. And then they're leaving, and you see that he's getting dragged away. And I don't know if they show it afterwards, because the next thing is that we see that he's visiting Vanessa in the hospital.
Yeah, he's like, you helped me when no one else was there. Like, please be okay. And she's just sort of like in a coma. She hasn't woken up yet,
but it's implied that obviously she's alive and fine. But like, we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. So then he's like, saying that. Then we see him at home with Abby talking, right? Is that what the next thing with him?
Yeah, she's like, I miss my friends. Like, can we go visit them? And he's like,
his face
he's like,
is literally. It's like that thing where like you go through something insane, and then you're like with your parents or something, and at the end of it, you're like, that was like something you have to do, like a doctor's something, and then at the end of it, after you've traumatized them back, being like, oh, it was the worst thing ever, and then afterwards, you're like, that was kind of good. Let's do it again. They're like,
and they're like
in those moments like that where the kid switches over, and it's like after the hell we just went through.
But she was so
she's like, they're probably
she's
lonely
like, whatever,
there.
because even when when Vanessa knocked Foxy down, she was like, Foxy, and I'm like, you were just running from Foxy.
Literally, yeah.
Foxy was about to like literally kill you.
She's so like
I feel like obviously she's aware. She's like, it's not their fault.
Yeah, and she's
like,
just like, they're lonely there. Like they don't go anywhere, and he's just like, yeah. And so he's like, but what was the answer he gave?
The answer was really great, because he's like, you know what? You never know what can happen.
You never know. We'll never know if we'll see them. Yeah, and she's like, okay. And he's like, oh my God.
And then they start chatting.
We ain't going back there. And she's like, and then over the course, like you said, she's been eating more, and now she's eating. Like, it's just so cute. And yeah, so they're doing good, and they're chatting, and he just feels like he's able to communicate with her now, and it's just nice. So we zoom out of that, and then the next things we see is like we see the back rooms again of Freddy's, and we see that William Afton is still in there in the suit. And it's just like he's still alive. So
we're literally like twitching, and then you see the little boy Freddy, and he's just like staring at him, and he's like shuts the door.
And you're like, are they letting him become that? Not like letting him, but are they like?
I think they're just watching him suffer. To make sure he doesn't leave, and also like waiting for him to die.
I guess.
Because like they can't do anything about
to go in. I'm just kidding. I need them. But so and then we just see the taxi driver with the cupcake.
The balloon.
Oh, it's Balloon Boy. Oh my gosh, yeah, no, it's not Cupcake. He's like, Cupcake never leaves Chica. No,
I know.
Yeah, but yeah, the Balloon Boy again, jump scare. He's always just there.
Anyhow. And then the Five Nights at Freddy's song rolls.
So good. Like it's just. And then the final. What was it that you heard in the theater too? Like
so at the end, they're spelling it out, and it's saying, "Come find me."
I think so.
Something like that.
They're like, see. And you're like, and it's like, come find me. So who is it? Is it?
Yeah. I think it's supposed to be like Freddy, right? But it's
maybe
hinting at a sequel.
What if it's the missing brother?
I know. Why does he talk like that? Come find me. Maybe.
Find me. Has anyone theorized this yet? There's probably everywhere.
Third eye.
Forums.
Third eye. They're like,
Third eye open. They're like big brain energy. And they're like, yeah, that's what we've been talking about this for 3 weeks, but fine.
You know? I know, for years. And we're like,
literally. We're like, but it's specifically for this new lore?
For the movie. Yeah.
We'll see. We're going to look it up. It was just, I just think it's such a nice, like, again, I'm not over here like acting like, oh my gosh, the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I'm not trying to be like, but it's like, no, it's good. It's good. I agree. I really liked it.
I liked it a lot. Yeah. And like when I left, I was like, oh, and I took a picture outside with the poster. Yeah. But I wish there was like more memorabilia.
Yeah, you'd think there would be.
Yeah. Like they had the Taylor Swift stuff. But I'm like, where's the Five Nights? Maybe they were at different theaters.
When we go to theater tomorrow, maybe we'll see them there. I don't know.
I'm like, where is everything?
Where are the animatronics?
I want the little plushies that they have in Security
They've got to sell that.
Which is not related to the movie, but I'm just like,
I'm sure they sell
aside.
Yeah, that was like literally in Security Breach. We're like, where's that?
I'm like,
where's Glamrock Freddy?
They're like, no. I'm sure there's. I'm gonna look up if they had it at other theaters.
There's gotta be.
Yeah.
We're again for the casual fan or the person who's obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a good movie. I
feel like it was good.
It's a good movie,
and I don't know. I just feel like people hate on it.
But I think it was one of those things, almost like the live action One Piece. Like it's that thing where I think that a lot of people.
That's perfect.
Yeah, but I think people were like hating on it
beforehand.
Scared
that it was gonna. Yeah.
And then afterwards, people were like, and especially real fans are realized like, come on. And also, you know what I mean. So it's like afterwards, they're like, wait, that was good. Like, and there's no reason to just make a to do about it if it didn't have something that was egregiously like, oh, you know, like it was a good movie.
I think they did it justice.
I think so
and
too.
I think they can add to it.
Yeah,
to make it even better.
I think it was. It's what I imagine. Like if I had to, it's not what I would have thought a movie because I wouldn't have never thought how you could have made a movie out of it, and they did a good job.
Because
you know what I mean?
like we said, like there's so much that they could go off of, and also they were holding everybody. Like it's precious to so many people, so it's like I feel like they knew that they had that responsibility, and they did what they needed to do with it. Blumhouse,
perfect in the right hands. In the right hands.
Jason Blum. I say Bloom. Some people say Blum.
Blumhouse?
But I say Blum.
I thought it was Blumhouse as well.
Yeah, me too.
Plume. Like a plume. Blumhouse.
But I say Plum.
No, I know, but I meant like a plume. Like what do you call it? Like a pen.
But that's with an E at the end.
Yeah, but okay. Yes.
I'm going against my own thing. I'm still saying Bloom. I'm still saying Bloom.
Bloom.
Even though there's no E. I'm like, it's Blumhouse. And they're like.
Because it's like a part of a bigger word. Though,
yeah.
So if I just,
Well, because his last name, though, is Blum.
Well, now we're like, what's this guy's? How do you say this guy's name?
Bloom.
Listen.
He's like, it's Blum. Okay. Do we do the scary scale? No, right?
I guess not, because like, we already
we've been covering things that we don't need the scary scale.
Because mostly though, it's just there's some jump scares and it's creepy, but it's like it's just the vibe as opposed to it being
it's an eerie vibe.
Yeah,
we don't necessarily need it to be rated like on how scary it is, because I feel like kind of like based off of what it is.
There's an ad, but let me see here. We're gonna learn how to say it. No, well, it's not even him. Watch them be like, we're just guessing.
Bloom.
It's like, it's like a, let me see, but it's his full name, which is funny. It's not just like the last name. It's not just like the last name. They're like, what?
Emma.
She's in the ad. Let's see.
Jason Blum.
See?
Bloom.
We are correct.
We're right.
Jason.
We know how to say Jason. Thank you very much.
They're like, this isn't for English speakers. Like, please get out of here. And we're like, oh, sorry.
They go, Jason Blum. And then they go, Jason.
Thank
you.
Sean.
Okay, we're doing the overall rating now. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Lowest to highest. Dusty. Straight to DVD. Airplane movie. Stream it. Plan your night around it. Life-changing / iconic. I feel like I know what it is.
What if I give it iconic? What would happen?
The thing, okay, so I was thinking about this earlier and I was like, this is hard to rate.
Yeah.
Because it's part of an iconic series.
Yeah.
It's not its own entity.
It's
so
like when I'm giving iconic, I feel like I'm
it.
giving it to Five Nights at
Five
Freddy's
Nights at
overall.
Freddy's.
Yeah.
So
Because obviously the next thing would be plan your night around it, which is like very much like what we did and what we do with it.
Honestly, I'm like, I don't even know how to rate. I feel like I'm going to rate Five Nights at Freddy's as a whole. Iconic. And then this movie,
it's a very plan your night around it feel.
Plan your night around it. Yeah.
It's like an iconic plan your night around it because you know it's going to be a thing. Yeah.
It's play the games, watch the movie. Like you have to do, it's like you have so much that you can, what's it, not ingest, what's it called? Consume. Yeah.
Same thing, like, same, but different. Yeah.
I'm like, you have so many things in the series of Five Nights at Freddy's, FNAF, that you can consume.
What a fun acronym
FNAF.
to say. FNAF.
And yeah, so that's what I think.
Love
that's my
I think
thoughts.
I agree. Yeah, because again, it is very iconic, but I am thinking of the franchise as a total.
Yeah,
which,
the franchise.
But again, you're gonna like the way you look. You're gonna
love it.
You're gonna love it. I just think, I don't know. I think
I mean,
the average movie fan who likes scary-ish things would very much enjoy it.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you know what.
But it's like if you don't, because it's like if you don't like Five Nights at Freddy's, because people don't like it, and I'm like, do you just not like it because of the hype on it?
Yeah, maybe. So if you don't like it actively, you might get
like it.
Yeah, it's very
you
much
actively don't like Five
and you're
Nights
going to
at
get
Freddy's.
annoyed seeing just the animatronics if you don't like the animatronics because they're there. It's not like it's a whole part of the movie. So,
but if you've never seen it, if you don't even know Five Nights at Freddy's, I feel like you'd be like, oh, okay.
If I didn't know it at all, I feel like I'd watch it and be like, what is like, not in a bad way, but like, what? This is some randomest idea. But it's like, okay, I love it. But it's just funny that it's like, because we have the backstory, obviously it's devastating of a backstory of it, but it's just funny that we're just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, anyway, animatronics with kids. And we're like, wait a minute.
But then think about if we only had Chuck E. Cheese and the games didn't exist and then they made this movie. I feel like we still have a connection to things like that. So
it would be very much marketed as the games were originally, where it's just like, look, they took your favorite thing from childhood and twisted it.
And made it really twisted.
Really twisted. And what if that had happened to you when you were at Chuck E. Cheese? Like, literally.
But if that were the case, they would have definitely changed some things. And I think made it different. I think it does lean on the fact that it has that.
Yeah. And also, I guess I would like to hear the thoughts of somebody who just does not. Like, I want to show it to my parents and be like, what did you think? Because I wonder if they'll still like it, I think. But I wonder if they're just like, what is this?
Okay. Because that's what we're thinking, but we're biased because we have so much backing
connections
it.
to it. Yeah.
But then if you've never seen anything like about it and you don't even have that connection and you're like, what the heck is this plot? Like, I feel like they would have maybe made different decisions if that back plot that they were referencing wasn't there.
Right. Like, what would the story look like in the term of just based on kids being in animatronics?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously
they would have added more details, I think, and also changed some things.
And they completely didn't completely follow, obviously, the lore. So you're just kind of like, okay, but then what would you do if you could run with it free without completely? But yeah, I don't know what that would look like and how that would come across to a fan of, like, what would we think of it? I just want to know.
I think it's a nice blend of the two. But like, we're going to like it more because we have all that other stuff.
Yeah, we're also, like you said, like, we're seeing it through our eyes of that. And we're not,
like, it's Five Nights at
and we're not
Freddy's.
startled when we see something that it's like, oh, look, there's that thing that we recognize. Even if we don't know everything about it, it's like so easy to be like, hey, there's that. Yeah. Where an average fan is like, or
they're
average
like,
viewer is
what
like,
the hell is going on?
Wait a
because
minute.
It's full of Easter eggs and full of stuff that I feel like you need to know.
It still gives you this plot though that you can get hooked on.
For sure.
Like, you follow Mike and he has such a good development. It's quick. Like, it's a short, like, it's a very, you know.
It is kind of quick because I feel like they could have added like another act, or not an act, but like another aspect to it if we weren't following the original. But like, again, I enjoyed it. But maybe if I hadn't had that, I might have been like, well, it's a stream it.
Yeah, maybe.
But I like to see things in the theater. And I don't think if I hadn't known, I don't think I would have been like, well, that was a waste. Like, I feel like I still would have liked to see it in the theater.
Yeah. Like, you're like this. Yeah. So I'm like, but to me, also stream it to me means like, like what you're saying. It was fine, or it was good, but I'm not gonna, it was just worth it to be like, put it on, you know what I mean? Whereas, like you said, either you're planning your night around it or you're going to the theater and you're like, I want to see this, like, I want to see this, and I'm expecting it to be good. And again, it's because I feel like we did go in there without thought. But I mean, I don't know. I want to hear it. Tell us what if you don't know anything about it, I'd love to know
what you thought of it. But yeah, we like it. We're like, this fun and times, that fun times, and maybe, but at the end of the day, it's our truth. No, at the end of the day, that's our truth. That's our truth. At the end of the day, we love it.
I love it. Yeah. It was Josh, my PETA.
I've only seen one Hunger Games, and Sarah's like, we need to watch them all because I've always been like, PETA every time.
PETA bread. I love, again, what I say, the only man written by a woman, and yes, I'm including everyone that's ever been written by a woman, but I'm just kidding. But also let me amend that. The first man that I ever witnessed being written by a woman at the tender age.
That's beautiful.
I was just like, I love him. The tender age of 16. I was like, are you telling me? Anyway, he's just everything. And so anyway, Josh, Bridget Terabithia, we love you.
Don't. He's another one that we grew up with. Yeah, like him and Matthew Lillard. I'm like,
there.
He's just always been. Perfect. And also, he's my birth year. Like, we're born the same year. I'm always like,
I love him.
I definitely looked it up. I always think of him as like, oh, we're born the same year. And then I'm like, are we? Yeah, we are. His birthday was a month ago.
I just love him.
He's a Libra.
You see?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so that means if he's
so chill,
if his birthday was me, I'm over there like doing the thing.
Well, a month and a day.
I'm like, he was a grade above me then. You were like, right, but he's in the year. And I'm like, right, because you're born in May. We have a whole thing every time. Don't get us started. There's not even a reason to know it. There's not even, I'm like, oh, he was in this grade. And it's like, what was it? Me, age 90. Oh, so you're in 25th grade? Great. Like, literally still going by grades.
What grade are you in?
What grade are you in? We're in the nursing home. Anyway.
In the school of life? I'm in grade 80.
Anyway, we grew up with Josh, and I was just so excited. I feel like you know what? I think that's a thing that I do wonder how I'd feel about it if it wasn't him in it, because I think he really does a lot.
Another thing that I was saying to you too, and I was like, it's crazy that he's in this. Like, no, it's not.
I just love that it's him. If it was a random guy that one couldn't act as well, it was just kind of a rando, which is like, there's merit to having someone that's new, obviously. Yeah. But I just feel like him being tied to it really cemented it being like, I want to see this, and I just feel good watching it.
He's got that star power.
He's
like, they could have done that thing like you said, where it's like, well, here's someone, and they didn't. They just like pulled out as much as they needed to. I feel like for the movie, I know. Yeah,
me texting my mom like, we just saw it. She's like, I never heard of it, and I was like, well, Josh Hutcherson's in it. She's like, oh, so that's why you like it. I'm like, no, it's good.
She's
like, it's amazing. Right. She's like, right. He's great. Anyway, we love it.
Yes.
Want to hear your thoughts though.
Let us know. Let us know
your background when you're coming into it.
Your background.
That sounds like a job.
ASL?
Yeah.
No,
hey, tell us. Yeah. What do you got? Yeah. Truly.
But yeah, if you guys have a movie that you want us to cover or suggestion, please let us know. Please, if you want to watch, if you're not watching us, watch us on YouTube. From Under the Bed Podcast. You can find us. Yeah, give us a 5-star rating if you please. If you like us, share with a friend. And you can email us at FromUnderTheBedPodcast@gmail.com. Go to our website, FromUnderTheBedPodcast.com. Follow our socials where we are just acting like weirdos, but also just like
that's the best
having
part.
fun online.
Yeah, perfect.
Which are Insta, From Under the Bed. Our TikTok is From Under the Bed Pod. And then our Twitter, FUTB Podcast, which it's not called Twitter anymore. But I'm still going to call it Twitter.
But guess what? It's what you know. It's what we all know.
Even know anymore.
But yeah. We're literally Xing it out, and also that is what it's called. But, you know.
Yeah.
Anywho.
But, yeah. Let us know if you want us, what you want us to cover. Well, probably, I don't know what we're doing next.
I know. What was it we were thinking about doing? We're like, do we go on a Matthew Lillard kick? Do we go on Scooby-Doo?
I know. We might do Scooby-Doo. Honestly, we've been doing things that are not as like horror. And we're like, let's do Haunted Mansion. Let's do Scooby-Doo. But honestly,
we're healing ourselves,
we're
okay?
Spooky.
We're just, that's never been, we've always had a wide
We're
breadth.
here to comfort you.
Breadth.
Yeah.
The word.
Bread,
you know?
breath.
A bread. Pita bread? Yeah.
A bread? Anyway.
I love it.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Dum 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 dum.
The jerk. The
animatronic
family. Bye.
Bye.
I can't. Us turns into powers off.